just died in your arms tonight.
She's crazy like a fool.
What about Daddy Cool?
she believes in him. She loves her daddy.
That last song that I just played, the one by Bonnie M, it came with the music video attached to it, because I think that might have been like a live rendering or something. And I've watched it, and it's difficult to believe after Googling that the main singer of that group was not like autistic or anything like that. He just was that extra, you know? It's very curious how that works. There we are. Welcome, darlings. How are we all doing today? It is Thursday, my dudes, and I am in quite a good mood, actually. Although, grim shit going on in Poland, so we'll see if I make myself sad before the stream's over. Fiddy, Amenax, Krzycki, Salty, how are you all doing? I hope you're having a wonderful day. I can see there is some hearty debate happening in the Not Safe for Work channel of my Discord, which doesn't exist, strictly speaking, for the purpose of debate. However, it does sometimes feel like that's what every channel in my Discord is for. I think they're talking about femboys in there. Oh well. I suppose it just do be like that on Thursdays. For today, we've got a little bit of news about Poland. None of it good, but all of it is something that I'm opinionated about, so we'll cover that. Then after that, we've got an interview on Channel 5, which we do not like Channel 5 anymore. If you have missed the last stream, we do not like Andrew Callaghan in this house. Andrew Callaghan is a cunt, and a rapist, and a liar. But I am very much interested in watching Nick Fuentes argue with Hunter fucking Biden. So we shall be watching that. Then I found a video. And I wanted to watch it last week on Thursday, and we never got to it. And then I wanted to watch it last week on Friday, and we never got to it. And I want to watch it today. But given that this is an hour and 46 minutes, we probably will not get to it again. But I really, really, really want to watch it. So feel free to pester me about it if we don't watch it again today. I found Nick Shirley's long-lost brother. And, well, technically, police officers found him. I will simply be talking about Nick Shirley's long-lost brother. If you know who Nick Shirley is, and if you know how particularly fucking moronic Nick Shirley is, this video is gonna tickle your brain in the exact same way that Nick Shirley does. And then I've got another video, but the odds of us getting to this are very slim. I do, however, at the very least want to mention it in passing, because in the world of peculiarities happening every single day, Trump has had a, let's call it a productive meeting with Zelensky, and Anna Kasparian, together with Cenk Uyghur from the Young Turks, have decided to start swinging at Ukraine. Because apparently, if Trump starts liking Ukraine for any period of time, that's a signal to these people that they should start shitting on Ukraine. I believe Cenk's actual quote, fuck me if I'm wrong, I will double check for you later, especially if we get to this video. If not today, then we'll get to it tomorrow. Cenk's actual quote was that, Ukraine is basically like the Israel of Europe or something like that, or that the Ukraine's doing Israel's bidding. And it's just, I feel some type of way about these kinds of people swinging against Ukraine. So we're going to talk about it, because these people are fucking mental. And I do apologize for the Anna Kasparian jump scare. It unfortunately do be like that sometimes. I know it's I know it can't get scary, but we have to make do. Also, I wanted to talk about Anna Kasparian for a while now. It's just I keep forgetting to come around to it. Somebody tell me if I'm mistaking Anna Kasparian for someone else, but Anna Kasparian had like a bit of a I'm leaving the left because I was sexually assaulted by a homeless man and nobody took it seriously arc. And then a woman was sexually assaulted and Anna was piling on saying that she's lying and that it couldn't have happened. And it was just such a bizarre fucking whiplash of a situation that I wanted to cover it and I never got to it and I started forgetting the details about it, but I do want to revisit it. It is what it is, Salty. And whilst we do all of that, I have some Warhammer minis that I wanted to build for a while, so I figured we might as well start building them today. Because, you know, why not? Let me put this here for the time being. There we go. We will start off with a little bit about Poland. In case you haven't heard, I don't know if this made the news internationally. It certainly made the news in Poland. But a missile landed in Poland in the night. It blew up. Luckily, nobody was hurt. It ended up blowing up in the field, but 4 fighter jets were scrambled to intercept it in the night, and as far as I understand it, they have all failed. So it ended up sort of just blowing up a little bit of some bumfuck field, which luckily is what ended up happening in the sense that, you know, nobody was hurt. However, Russian missiles, most likely Russian missiles, are flying into Poland, which is not good. So it's a big issue, and I would like to see how our government responds to this, but it looks like our government's not doing much of like good responses to stuff lately. So we'll see. We'll see. I live in such a bubble, I didn't even hear about it. I've heard about it in the morning, and then I spoke to my co-workers about it very briefly, and now I'm going to talk to you guys about it. So even if you hadn't heard about it, Amanax, we're going to cover it today. Well, we are covering it right now. So yeah, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has said an object that crashed into a field in eastern Poland in the early hours of Thursday was in all probability a Russian cruise missile, and it was armed. It left a 10-meter wide crater a short distance from the village of Tarnawa Kolonia, 92 kilometers from the border with Ukraine, during a large-scale Russian attack on the cities of Lvov, Kiev, and near I don't know how to pronounce this. Kryvyi Rih? That's a new one. I suppose we'll have some learning to do today. Tusk said initially that all the indications were that the missile that violated Polish airspace was a Russian KH-101 or 101 cruise missile during a specially convened meeting in the eastern city of Lublin. He then went to the site of the incident and said that according to military experts, the majority of the recovered fragments point to it being a Russian KH-101 missile. Although no casualties have been reported in Thursday's incident near Tarnawa Kolonia, the Polish Prime Minister made clear it was being taken very seriously. There was no immediate threat as it had not landed in a built-up area, he said, adding that we were prepared to shoot it down if it had continued its flight. Oh yeah, that's what they were saying. I don't know how true this is, but the story currently is that they didn't shoot it down because it wasn't going to land anywhere where it would like make sense to shoot it down midair. I do not know how true that is because I know precisely fucking nothing about military shit. Article 5, I don't believe so, Fiddy. We already, I mean, we should be quite hesitant with it, but also I don't think we've got the... With how everything's going, it feels really fucking sad to say this, and it genuinely breaks my heart that this is the case. But with a lot of the news that we're hearing lately, and with a lot of the sort of propaganda that's happening in the media, I feel like if we ended up getting hit by a Russian rocket, a good chunk of the population would be ready to blame Ukraine for it. Which is really fucking bad, actually. It is really bad. It kind of ties into... Oh.
Кривий Ріг.
Fair enough. It ties into the next thing that we're going to be talking about, because I've got words for some other things as well. But it is quite bad. The Polish-Ukrainian relations are probably at the worst they've been in a while, and it doesn't look like it's going to go in a good direction anytime soon. NATO said it was in close contact with Polish authorities, and the Supreme Allied Commander of Europe, General Alexis G. Grinkiewicz, said the Western Defensive Alliance would continue to take all necessary measures to defend NATO territory. Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz said about 20 objects were seen close to Polish airspace overnight, and pyrotechnical analytics were being carried out. Ukraine's acting foreign minister, Andriy Sybiha, had earlier declared definitively that a Russian Kh-101 cruise missile had crossed into Poland as part of Russia's massive strike against Ukraine, violating NATO airspace. Tusk said he was in contact with fellow European leaders, and the head of the European Council, Antonio Costa, said Russia's massive combined strike against Ukraine had underlined again that Russia's aggression is a threat to security as a whole. I mean, I don't disagree. It's just they keep saying that over and over and over again, and then and then what, you know? At least 8 people died and dozens more were wounded across Ukraine, including 6 members of one family in a village near
Кривий Ріг.
Dozens more were wounded in Lvov, not far from Ukraine's eastern border with Poland. A number of Russian drones and one unarmed Russian missile have landed in Poland since Russia's full-scale war in Ukraine began in February 2022. 2 Polish farmers were killed by a missile that landed just over the border from Ukraine in November 2022. I covered this if I remember correctly. Jesus. November 2022. I was still at uni when this started. I was still living in the UK with my mum. I remember going downstairs talking to her about the fact that I've just heard that Russia's invaded Ukraine. And it is still fucking going on. In the year of our Lord, 2026. A lot of people will say it wouldn't have happened if not for Ukrainians living in Poland, unfortunately. Yeah, I hope that the media simply sort of... that the media is just overstating how bad it is here. But just to give you an example of another thing that happened earlier this week, and this one's genuinely unhinged. So, the story goes like this. There is a Ukrainian couple in a Żabka store, right? It's the little like corner store here in Poland where you've got a little bit of everything in there. You can get a hot dog, you can buy whatever you need for the household, you can send parcels from there and pick up your mail. It's a bit of an everything store, right? Poland likes those. It's the frog store, the green one. I've showed it to you guys plenty of times. So a Ukrainian couple is in there, and they are waiting in the queue for the till. 3 absolute fucking troglodytes come into the store. Our better 911, not 911. You mean 711, right? Yeah, it's not our better 911, it's our better 711 is what Amanax was getting at. So 3 absolute fucking troglodytes come into the store. One of them has been identified as a member of Gromda, which is a... I don't actually know how to describe it. It's like a... How would you describe Gromda? It's a bunch of fucking retards who take steroids and then make YouTube videos about how they will not let engineers into the country and they're ready to protect our borders. And then they do like pathology UFC matches. So this dude here, the tanned one, he's a member of Gromda who lost 2 of the 2 fights that he's had. He was also in jail for 10 years in the past. They push in front of the couple, in front of the Ukrainian couple in the store, and the woman, the Ukrainian woman, tells them that they ought not to do that they shouldn't be pushing in front of people because there is a queue, you know, like in any other civilized fucking country. When you go to the store and there's other people in there, there's a queue. So what ends up happening is they go outside, they wait for the couple to leave the store, and then they assault them and beat the fucking shit out of them to a point where they ended up in hospital. They beat up the dude, they beat up the woman, and they left. Now, they were all, I believe they were all detained. I think because this is saying that 2 were detained and there's a hunt for the 3rd. I don't know if they've caught the 3rd one, actually. One of them was detained almost immediately because it took people on the internet about 4 minutes to figure out who this tanned fucking troglodyte is. So he was a quick one to figure out. And yeah, they've assaulted them. And they've assaulted them solely because they were told not to push in front of other people in the store. And that was enough for people like this to beat the fuck out of them. And it begs the question, a bit of a debate topic. Now, a lot of my usual rehabilitation perverts are not here right now, so we might have to circle back to this a little bit later. But I know that I've got a lot of people in my audience who, much like myself, believe that the fundamental sort of position of the incarceration system should be rehabilitation, right? Because of course it should be. Hey, Christopher, how are you doing? Hey, Ray. Which makes perfect sense. How do you rehabilitate somebody like this? It's a man in, I think he's either in his 40s or he's approaching his 40s, who already was in jail for 10 years, who assaulted a couple because they told him not to push in front of them in the line in the store. So I don't think you can rehabilitate this. What's even the point of trying to rehabilitate this? What we should have is a work camp. And it should be heavily monitored, and you should make sure that the cases that, you know, end up going there are like very clear-cut, sort of. There's no vagueness, there's no, you know, we're not doing the shit that they used to, that our ancestors did with work camps that were not particularly, you know, smart to do. When I say our ancestors, I mean broad humanity. But we should have work camps, and people like this should just spend the rest of their lives doing physical labor to bring something productive to the society. A fucking ape like this is not going to be rehabilitated. He's not going to be taught how to behave himself. Man in his 40s, after 10 years in prison for, I believe he was in prison for aggravated assault. I'd have to double check if, I can check him out in just a moment. Assaulted a couple because they spoke Ukrainian and they told him not to push in front of them in the queue. How do you rehabilitate a fucking animal like this? Hey, Yoten, how you doing? Your rehabilitation perverts are never here. They don't even watch you. What do you mean by that, BB? This happened in Wrocław, and it is quite sad. It's just fucking, I don't know. They should make an example out of them to a profound degree that they can't do. You know, they can't do. Do you know what this reminds me of? I saw a clip. It's fucking. We're heading mentally. We're on an unhinged chat section of my Discord. I saw a TikTok clip of a father playing some SpongeBob song and making a TikTok with his son, and the father is doing like a little dance and he's sweaty. And he drags his hand across his ball sack and then puts his hand on his little toddler's son's nose so that his little son has to smell his sweaty ball sack on his hand. And then the son walks away and the father does like a weird TikTok dance and then decides to upload that for, you know, for the internet to see. And I thought to myself in the moment that like liberalism is cool, but we should bring the death penalty back. But I should be in charge of it. And if I'm in charge of it, I think it's going to be all right. And I think I could deal with a situation like this one very quickly as well. Fucking little cost to the taxpayer as well. Little cost to the taxpayer. But we can't because we're pretending to be, you know, better than that. The more civilized. Why do we give fucking troglodyte ape pieces of shit the benefit of treating them with civility when they can't display that civility towards others around them? I do not get that. Like, what's the point? Is there a link between the person and foreign influence? Maybe he was con/hired into assault the Ukrainian couple? No, Christopher, it's not conspiratorial. This is just another piece of shit. Like thousands that we have in this country who's physically violent, xenophobic, and very prone to propaganda on account of relatively low IQ. Like, you look at it, I will, hold on, I need to find who, I will find you who this specifically is. Because we know what his name is, we know this dude.
What's this?
I will double check if this is
Peace
the...
girls are fighting leg knife, leg knife, leg knife.
Yes, they are. Yeah, the Law and Justice Party is having a rough one. Hehe, let's go. Love to see it. Yeah. Adam C., whose nickname is Cycu. So his nickname in Polish is Boob. Brother's name is Adam C. with the pseudonym Boob. He's a 45-year-old. A 45-year-old who's already spent 10 years in jail. How the fuck are you gonna rehabilitate him? Will he be talking about flock cameras today? Waiting. Wait, when you say flock cameras, do you mean the ones that people have been making tutorials on how to cut them off with chainsaws, Leonard? That is what you mean, right? The cameras that have been getting mobbed lately. Bro, what the fuck is going on? I love to see it, but I have no idea what the fuck's... I've been in a very different media bubble recently. Hey, Era. Yeah, I'm doing quite alright. How about you, buddy? And also, Jotun, thank you kindly for the subscription. 17 months long. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, Chris, we're supposed to be the bigger person, and if we snap at least once, we'll be villainized till the end of time. If it happens this time with the lefties, with women, with people of color. Yes, but do you know what the problem with today's society is? It's how our parents raised us. It's the fact that, well, how your parents raised you, I should say. My mom had a very different approach to the subject matter. My wife was raised like this, and I can see it. When she enters into like a moderately sort of like a conflict environment, I can immediately see that her mum used to tell her, "Głupim się ustępuje." And I can fucking see it by how she approaches that. Do you know what? I don't think that. I don't think that głupim się ustępuje. I think that it's time to chimp the fuck out when it comes to these people. I think that the only reason why they behave like absolute uncivilized pieces of shit is because they've never really been on the receiving end of this. And it's just depressing. It's just sad. I don't know if you guys have an American equivalent of głupim się ustępuje. It translates to like go easy on the stupid ones, you know? Like if they say something that offends you, then just like turn the other cheek, basically. My mum used to not believe that. My mum is a fucking animal when it comes to shit like this. She causes as many problems as she's there to solve, but she's there to solve them as well, bro. You ever see someone complain about how children are in danger of being exposed to porn and then they willingly hang out with people like Noxtaku? That's exactly what happened over the weekend with Offkai. I was curious about covering that, actually. I had half a mind to cover the Offkai situation. I just don't know if there is much coverage. Essentially, to those of you who are not aware of what happened with Offkai, Offkai was sponsored by a... Actually, maybe I should start this a little bit sooner than that. If you don't know what Offkai is, it's essentially like a big convention that's centered around VTubers. And one of the sponsors of Offkai was Fansly. And Fansly had a booth at Offkai, sort of in the middle of the like the warehouse where the Offkai was, where the thing was happening, the expo was happening, and people are up in arms because Offkai isn't 18 plus. So you essentially had at least the possibility of children walking around there with a massive fuck off blue square right in the middle that advertises Fansly as one of the sponsors. So people are obviously being like, hey, maybe, you know, the 18 plus shit should be in an 18 plus zone, which is a reasonable complaint to have. And then a lot of the people who have the more like, wow, this is the end of the Western world, the whores are coming after the children, are the kinds of people who hang out with people like, you know, Nuxtaku, who shows porn to children so that they click on his videos more. Were there any kids though? I don't see the risk being any worse than just being able to access Twitch. I honestly don't know if there were, because like I said, I didn't research the topic. I just thought the whole thing was... It's like, you know, sometimes, Leonard, something happens where people don't actually give a fuck about the details. They just want to have the meta conversation to, like, appeal to their in-group. It's like how Tectone constantly talks about sex workers being a less than and horrible and bad. And then he makes his ex-girlfriend, when they are together, do, like, OnlyFans. And then he has nothing but good things to say about Asmongold dating a woman who has OnlyFans. It's like they don't care about what they're saying. CNN headline, flock cameras are getting mobbed. Do you know what? I don't know what that's about, but I feel like I'm happy that it's happening. It's some AI shit, isn't it? It's always some weird fucking AI shit. It's annoying to me people ignore important things like the massive and sudden expansion of the surveillance state because they suddenly care about off-car Lmao. The thing is, I don't know if you saw that, Leonard, because this was around the time when you were more busy with like schoolwork and shit, so you weren't paying, you weren't in here that much. But a little while ago, Tectone, and just to put in perspective how when you say things like surveillance state, just to put in perspective how fucking stupid these people are. A little while ago, Tectone, Kershaw, and a few others were invited on that weirdo right-wing podcast. That they go on that like fucking once a week at this point, it feels like. And they were talking about American politics, and they were asked the big question, the difficult question by the host, okay? He said, what does the Attorney General do? And the fucking silence in there, bro. These people talk about politics every single day, and they were asked what the Attorney General does, and they just fucking died. That's not particularly... They don't know. No, Jotun, they didn't even know what it... They didn't know what it means. Like, they weren't aware of the... They were aware of... That's the thing that baffles me. If you know what an attorney does, and you know what a general does, and you know that Attorney General is a government position, you can probably, like, say a half-decent answer at that point. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even have to be 100% accurate. Just with knowing words on their own, you can deduce what that person does exactly. But they couldn't. Tectone had to Google it in real time. So it's rough. It's rough out here, bro. It's, I don't really know what to tell you, other than it's rough. It really fucking is rough. Top attorney, yeah, fucking Andrew Tate's gonna need one of those, isn't he? The bitch boy's going to jail. Can't fucking wait. Oh, we are drinking. When they lock Andrew Tate up, we are having a drink. I don't give a fuck. I'm having Collins and we're all just drinking. And it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I'm drinking right now. Yeah, but that's different, BB. You are an alcoholic. I'm talking about a celebratory drink because Andrew Tate got locked the fuck up, baby. BB pre-gaming. I don't know if that's what you call, you know, drinking way too much alcohol, but perhaps it's just pre-gaming. I have some Warhammer minis for us to build. And I have some videos for us to watch. So I'm thinking, gang, that I'ma be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need to count my bases. 7, 8, 9, 10. Hell yeah. I'm thinking we watch the video, we build the minis, we chill. It obviously is Leonard, yeah, but he doesn't know, okay? He doesn't even know. He doesn't even know. I'm curious where the fuck this went. Oh, you can't see that very well, okay, because of how my how the browser is positioned. But here on the right side, the person who's covered by chat is Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden's having a debate with Nick Fuentes. And I don't know the exact details of this debate. I don't really know what to expect and what we're going into. But I want to at least give it a listen. And just see what we can figure out, you know. I'll be off work in a few minutes. Chris will make the announcement near the end of the stream. Actually, my friend, I can make the announcement right now, and then you can remind me a little bit later, and I can make the announcement again. Correct me if I misremember this, but Diz wanted to... basically, Diz wants to do read-alongs of, I believe, fantasy novels on stream. Not on stream, sorry, in my Discord. And he was asking if anyone would be wanting to join him. And if so, then I'm just getting a... Yeah, he's starting a read party, essentially. And this is just trying to gauge what level of interest we've got. And if that sounds like something you'd like to take part in at any point in the near future, maybe right now, just send me a DM in Discord. Or, better yet, drop a message in... serious discussion. Just say, I want book club. Yeah, those exact words. I want book club. And this wants to start with 3 fiction books. Though I imagine, with this being as amenable as he is, if you will want to introduce perhaps a different book in the middle of those 3 fiction books, I can't imagine he would have a problem with it. Chris, will you be challenging me in my new tentative Beans Calling segment on Saturdays? Waiting. Depends what time it is on Saturdays, buddy. I might have good news regarding my own time allotment in the near future. However, I don't want to jinx anything, so I'll keep my cards close to my chest. But I don't see why not, Leonard. I don't see why not. Because I feel like, do you know what we should do, Leonard? It should be like a Beans segment, and then you are in there, and I will join, and we're just going to ape the fuck out to a point where Beans has absolutely no control over what's happening. And if she mutes either one of us, we agree right now, we're all capsing it in chat. Like, proper all capsing it in chat. Just, the idea is to overtake Beans' entire stream, and we have to yell Polska Górom as we do it. Now, you are not Polish, but I'll, for the time being, make you an honorary Pole, as long as you agree that we're taking over Beans' stream. I think I can like that, Leonard. I think that sounds quite fun. Shall we begin with the video? I'll show you what I've got, actually, for us to build today. I am... quite excited about this. I am like, fuck. Before I click play, shall you show hug? One day, people, one day, and you'll be the first to see it. I am like a fucking king, bro. King of finding good secondhand deals. It is unbelievable. I'm like a, I don't know what you call, well, I have a few derogatory terms for people who shop the way I do, but I'm sure there's a compliment somewhere in there as well. But I am a king of secondhand deals. I copped a box. I'll show you, Leonard. Are you ready, Leonard? Are you ready? Hold on. I'll need to show you these one at a time. I'll do this. I should be able to do this. Oh no, hold on. I've made a bad. This stays full screen. I'm having a moment. I'm having a moment. Leonard, I want you to guess. Okay, I want you to guess. I want you to guess. How much, Leonard? How much? KrysSpeaks, I have not, no, and I would love to watch it, but I don't know if we will have, I don't know if we'll have the time for it today specifically. You have overshot it, Leonard. I will, just so that you can get your bearings, okay? Just so that you can get your bearings, 200 euros. It's just a box of flagellants. There's nothing else in here. Slightly under $30, Leonard. Hell yeah, bro. Poland. Poland. Went and picked it up. It was a, I think, I told you guys this before. I've done this, This is really sad, keep in mind, but most of the Warhammer shit that I buy, I have a pretty decent idea of what the story is behind it, because both this and this, now this one was a tad bit more expensive for obvious reasons, but both the flagellants as well as this, I bought both of these online, and both of these were being sold by women who only had 1 to 2 Warhammer listings, and everything else was like clothes, cosmetics, shit like that. And I think that what might have happened is they bought it for their partner as like a gift or whatever, and then they broke up. And now they've got a box of Warhammer shit that they don't know what to do with. And they don't really want to, like, haggle or whatever. They just want to get rid of it ASAP. The fuck is a flagellant? And was that word gupiemu or gupim? And both would be correct. Flagellant, Chido, is a... it's essentially like a religious zealot. And the word is both, because you can either say głupim się zawsze ustępuje, which is plural, or you can say głupiemu się zawsze ustępuje when you're talking about one stupid fucking person. So both of them work. Now, for today, I'm thinking we're going to build Zenestra, we're going to build the Knights, the Assassin Boyo, the whatever the fuck these two are called, and instead of the Steel Helms, I'm just going to start doing the Flagellants. How do you pronounce that L with a cross? Wi. Głupi. In there, it's kind of silent. Well, it's not silent. Głupiemu. It will sound like U to you. Like there's just G and then the U, but that letter is in there. Almost has more of a W sound, like a soft W. Yeah, Polish. Polish is a cool language. What can I say?
Another one.
Hey, I love League of Legends, dude. Thank you for the follow. Have you not been here for like years? Let us begin.
They asked me, why are you a Nazi?
Inclusion has been our greatest strength. Diversity has been our greatest strength.
White people do feel like we are being boxed out.
A 26-year-old white kid doesn't feel like he has access because he's been canceled, and the problem is black people.
I didn't say the problem's black people.
Well, you just did, Nick. You just
I
said
the problem is crime, and we know who's doing the crime in Chicago.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
About the Holocaust thing?
Oh, about that.
We get to say whatever we want on the internet. We get to deny the Holocaust.
As far as Jews are concerned in general, I think that everybody in the country should be treated with dignity and respect and have their civil rights.
Like, what do you think about somebody like Mamdani?
Personally, I don't like him. Like, for example, on 4th of July, when he takes the opportunity to sit there with, let's be honest, not a single white person.
What about fucking Donald?
I fucking knew it. Bro, I'm so in tune with white supremacists, you don't even know. Somebody in my Discord linked Mamdani's store. You know because he's doing the grocery store shit, right? and somebody in my Discord linked to the website for those stores, or to a website for something related to those stores. It was something to do with that, right? And the first thing that I've noticed as I was scrolling through is that there's a lot of pictures, and not in one, there is a white dude. And I knew people are going to be like, ooh, that's bad. That's very bad. And if it came from literally anybody who's not a white supremacist, I would almost be able to empathize. Almost. Alas, it does keep coming from white supremacists. It's a bit rough, frankly.
Trump. There's no ideological core to Donald Trump.
No, I agree with you.
Don Jr. got the largest loan ever given by the Department of Defense.
Vance owes his entire political career to Peter Thiel, whichever firm is the one to develop ASI.
Hearing that at work is one thing. Needing to pretend like you didn't just hear that. Oh, that's gotta be rough. That has got to be rough. I'm trying to figure out which fucking... Is this gonna be... I think this is the sprue. I think it's gonna be this one. I'm trying to figure out which sprue has Zenestra on it, which sprue has the Lord Marshal and Relic Envoy, and which sprue has the Steel Helms, because the Steel Helms I don't want to build right now. Okay, I think this is the 5 boyos. This is going to be the Marshal and the little Relic. This is going to be Zenestra. Alright, so it's these 3. And this I can put to the side. Fuck. They're around 32. I'm disappointed, but... you know what? Sometimes we talk about like Zoomers being fucking morons, and they are, to be fair, right? They are. I've been getting the sort of like the 30-year-old age group has been very, very consistently stupid around a lot of these topics. Also, I have bought a hobby knife, and I am about 90% sure that I will cut myself with it. So I will not be using this on stream, but I do wanted you to know that I have it for cleaning up my minis. It's, but I will not be using it on stream because, like I said, I don't think blood is allowed on Twitch.
Could confer dictatorial-like powers upon the CEO of that company.
Everything that we think about the way in which we exist in the world completely changes.
Increasingly with Uber, Airbnb, banking apps, you can't live your life without the tech platforms.
Everything that AI is built on is ours. That's what they're stealing from us. I want to find common ground of how much of a shithead Donald Trump is. We can get there, okay?
The kind of first question that I had whenever I caught wind that you wanted to do an interview like this is, you know, why now? What made you want to sit down for this kind of interview?
Well, I think it's an interesting conversation to have all of us here. And, you know, I think it's a moment in our country when there's a lot of realignment. You know, I think that people recognize, especially in the past couple of years, I'm like a non-conventional critic, maybe, of what's happening. And so I think it'll be an interesting, productive conversation. I think it'll be different.
But I mean, specifically, because we kind of share a publicist, I heard that you wanted to kind of... Okay, we have a publicist that you hit up, and you said that you wanted to talk to someone who would give you kind of a fair shot to like clear up some things and maybe some misconceptions about you and the things you believe.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I think that, you know, I'm somebody who, I think like you, actually, maybe we have this in common, is kind of pigeonholed in a certain way for things that we've done in the past or things that we've said.
Yeah, I'm a crackhead.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm racist, right?
I got pigeonholed there. Mine is true, yeah.
Yeah, well, mine's a little true. Maybe a little, no. But yeah, so I think it'd be good to clear up some of the misrepresentations and put out something accurate.
So what do you think is the most misrepresented thing about you?
Well, I think really the whole image everybody has about me. You know, when you mentioned me, I think on a recent show, you said you want to ask me, why are you a Nazi?
Yeah.
And that's how everybody knows me. Everybody thinks of me as a white supremacist Nazi, and I don't think that's really true at all. I think that we definitely...
He literally is a... Oh God, I'm reminded, I will forever be reminded of that beef that Mr. Girl had with Destiny over Destiny refusing to label Nick a Nazi until Destiny finally caved in and labeled him a Nazi long after, like, that topic wasn't even relevant anymore.
We have different values. I mean, you're more from the left, I'm more from the right, but I don't think I'm a hater. I'm not a hateful person.
It is Heil Hitler Friday, Heil Hitler, all my niggas Nazis.
Hitler was very fucking cool.
Yes, I do.
One of them.
And I'm tired of pretending he's not.
So what's the thing about, I guess, traditional Nazism that you think you disagree with the most?
Well, it's a non-Christian ideology. So, I mean, look, I believe that race is real, as the Nazis did, but I don't think it utterly defines a person. As a Christian, I think we're all created beings. I do believe there's such a thing as a universal human community. And so I think it's a cruel ideology. I've said this on my show, by the way, but I mean, that would maybe be the fundamental.
Did you always feel that way?
Always, yeah, absolutely.
So even whenever you were younger and stuff?
I did, but you know, you got to recognize times have changed. 10 years ago, we had a totally different political world. The regulation and policing of speech, you know, what you would call wokeness, I think was at an all-time high when I got started as a very young man.
Wait, what you would call wokeness?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think, I mean, would you not say there were some excesses maybe in those days?
Yeah, in those days, I wasn't doing too well, so I wasn't paying much attention. Anyway, I would love to hear, and I'm not asking you to like retract everything that you've ever said and all the, you know, or anything, but I said that I would love to talk to you because number one, I told you this, is that I think you're really smart, and I think that with that comes in a real responsibility, and you have an audience.
Quick question, for the Free Guild Marshal, do we want to do him with the sword or with the hammer? Actually, I shouldn't have asked you. I don't care. I'm going with the sword. If any of the mods are here, you can let his message through. I think it was to do with the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. But it's Peepo, so it's alright. He gives me $2, $3 a month, actually. He gets to say weird shit now and then. Reminds me of when Grand Wizard of the KKK said he wasn't a Nazi. Look, it do be like that sometimes. It do be like that. I forget what drugs Hunter Biden was on, but even... I think it was on a lot, but cocaine is the big one.
And I have a friend whose son is my daughter's age, you know, maybe 28, you know, your age. And he's really smart. And he is a big fan of yours. And so by virtue of the relationship, I got to learn what it is that why he is a fan of yours. And none of it has to do with, I would hope you agree, like really egregious things that you've said in the past about the Holocaust or about, you know.
Do the Jews ever talk about the 100 million whites that died in World War II? Or do they just bitch and moan about the so-called 6 million Jews that died?
And so it's just nice to poke holes in it and say, it's not 6 million.
6 million? I don't think so.
And I don't even know, I think I've heard you since kind of rescind a lot of that.
You concede that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust?
Possibly more. Possibly, you know, we're discovering all the time. So it could be, maybe even be more than that.
But what he agrees with is kind of the anger about this.
I don't know if anyone else thought the same, but I thought it was, if I remember correctly, I thought Nick Fuentes was being cheeky in a moment. Like when he was saying, oh, we're constantly discovering that maybe it was more. He was criticizing the fact that, he was criticizing the numbers, right? Like he was saying that the numbers are not, they're not consistent. Yeah, it wasn't a... It wasn't a concession, that was just him being a shithead.
Situation that particularly your generation finds yourself in. I know that to be real.
Hell yeah, Christopher.
And I think that there, you know, maybe my reasons for recognizing that anger as being legitimate and my targets are different than yours. I just wanted to hear from you. When you say you were canceled by the right in 2016.
Yes.
I almost felt like in preparing to meet you now, is that your reaction to that was to just dig deeper and deeper into kind of the outsider, kind of radical, say anything for the purpose of generating, you know, the attention to build an audience. Is that true? And it's not an accusation. I really mean it. I want this to be a conversation as much as possible.
I mean, there's certainly some truth to that.
I'm with you, Leonard, but I've just realized for the spearhead specifically, I think the weapon that he's holding is literally called a sword. And I know that you don't really get what you see is what you get with Age of Sigmar, but I think is Galmaraz a sword? It is not, but I feel like that's all the more reason to give him a sword, because he doesn't have Galmaraz, you know? That's a whole different thing, bro. Because this one has Zenestra, and she has like a scepter that she bonks people on the head with. And I think 3/4 of the flagellants use a fucking flail. That's close enough.
But I think that might be overstating it a little bit, because I really got canceled by the right and the left.
Yeah.
And back in those days in 2017, you had these far-left journalists at Huffington Post, Right Wing Watch, ADL, SPLC, and I really believe they were on a mission to find extremist rhetoric, the white nationalist, neo-Nazi boogeyman, all that kind of stuff. And they would look at someone like myself, 18, and if I was being serious or joking, things taken out of context, they would clip it, post it, and they wanted me to be the villain. And I think they wanted a lot of people to be the villain. I think the left, in a way, kind of created this climate where I think they pushed a lot of people farther to the right.
No, by the way, that very well may be true, but you gave them a lot of ammunition.
That's true.
You know, I mean, I hope that some of those things that you said in the past are not things that you believed in and that are you meant just to engender like a really radical kind of response. I mean, is that true or not?
Well, you know, again, I think that back in those days, you could not say anything. In 2017, 2018, cancel culture was so in overdrive. Any joke, any edgelording, anything like that, they would, first of all, there's no sense of humor.
I'm so old, I don't even, what's
okay, well, to break it down for you, so the dawn of wokeness as it's known today, I think was in like the post-Trump era. After Trump won the election in 2016, there was a big movement to deplatform and kind of push away those who, I guess the left feel like had galvanized them into the presidency. So there was this big idea that if you push people off mainstream social media platforms, they would go away. Now we know through Trump's reelection, that's not even true. But at the time, that was the mantra. Problematic viewpoints needed to be silenced, tucked away somewhere, and they would just sort of die in isolation. So I think that was the climate where you first got started, 2017. That time period was like crucial for getting people off mainstream platforms. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I would say that you got to get into the psychology of those days. It felt like anybody that wasn't on board with the most progressive agenda had no options. There was just no alternative. It was going to be progressive, liberal, feminist, BLM, all that kind of stuff. And if you were to the right of John McCain, you're no platformed. Censored, banned from all the platforms, you're fired from your job, you're ostracized socially. And I think what happened really in 2021 when Trump got banned from the platforms is it felt like 70 million people got canceled. 70 million people that voted for Trump, or 60, 70 million people, we were all felt like, oh, so if Trump is out of politics and we're all banned.
That was such a fucking psyop. He got banned because he broke the TOS. The notion that if you're the president, you should be able to break the platform's rules and they still have to keep you on there is fucking mental to me.
From the platforms, then how is there any redress for our grievances? Do we just have to shut up and get with the program and we're all going to be progressive? And I think that drove people to a far more radical place where people said, well, what really is a solution? We can't talk. We can't express ourselves. We can't participate in the process or run for office. And I was one of the people saying that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to drive people to extremism. If you don't talk, if people don't feel like they have a seat at the table and enfranchisement, I think then they start exploring options outside the system, outside of the political process, the democratic process. So I think it's self-inflicted in many ways.
So you feel like after the mass deplatforming in 2021, whenever people on the right got pushed to platforms like Parler, Gab, Rumble, etc., the lack of discourse and like the political singularity of those platforms created more extremism?
Absolutely, absolutely, because look, you take Trump off of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I predicted this in 21. I said, watch, you're going to see alternative social media rise because some venture capitalist is going to see there's a huge market of 70 million people that are going to follow Trump because Trump is no platformed. And that's exactly what happened. Rumble blew up, Elon bought Twitter, and what happened when you had total free speech on these platforms? Well, Twitter now resembles 4chan. And now, there's no game.
The zoom-ins that Andrew does on these people are bizarre. That notwithstanding, you don't have total freedom of speech on platforms like Twitter. You don't. Your post will get limited visibility if you use the word cis. The Brazilian government filed to have a bunch of data given to them by Elon Musk, and Elon Musk shit himself and then gave them the data anyway? Like, come on.
Gatekeepers. And I think it did push people in a radical direction. And honestly, people are even blowing past me. Now there's like mainstream normie types that are even blowing past me in terms of how radical they are. People start saying things like, there's no political solution, there's going to be a civil war, we need a revolution. And I think that's because the message from the left was, you're crushed. You have no options, you can't win, there's no alternative. Trump is going to be indicted and charged and can't run. You can't be on Twitter, you can't have a job. And so people started to say, okay, well, you know, we still exist. We're still here, we still have these concerns. What do we do now? And then people start to say, well, we need a revolution. And I'm one of the only people saying, no, we should still engage in the process and talk with each other. And it's not all one-sided. I think there's problems on the left and the right, but I certainly think it takes two to tango.
Okay, so there, we agree. I think that there are problems on the left and the right, and I don't disagree with some of the things that you just said. I guess I just came to a different conclusion, that there are some things that people should be deplatformed for. Not that they can't say it where they want to say it, but I think that it's a right of anybody.
Okay, top 3 things. What do you think?
There's a difference between being able to say that you're proud of your white heritage and also being just a flat-out racist. I think that there's a difference between saying you're proud of your Christian heritage and the white culture from what you come from and Nazis, or that you adopt the Nazism as a legitimate ideology. I think that there's a difference between saying that you disagree with the United States policy as it relates to Israel and saying that the Holocaust didn't exist.
I was like, Mom, Dad, Hitler was awesome. Hitler was right. And the Holocaust didn't happen. And my parents were like, we cannot believe.
Those would be top 3 things in my mind. I know that you believe that some people took you out of context, and I do agree. Look, on both the right and the left, there are these gatekeepers, 100%. And look at me, the mainstream press just destroyed me for 7 years without any real kind of reflection about what they were doing. I do think that, you know, some of those things are legitimate reasons to say, you know, we don't want you on our, you know, on our commercial platform. Would you agree with that? I mean, you just said, for instance, people calling for a, like an armed revolution, like people calling for actual violence. You're opposed to.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm against violence, and I do think those are one of the legitimate things that should be taken from the platform. You know, there's a lot of the stuff on social media I don't agree with, but again, you know, what started to happen is there was this like editorial censorship where certain ideas were banned, and they just, it was such a broad brush and also totally opaque and ad hoc. You'd be on YouTube, like I was, for example, they banned me for life and didn't even give me a reason. Not a specific quote, not a specific infraction. And so you don't know what the rules are, you don't know what the process is, they just take you down. And especially now, when everything is digital, that's not just the social platforms, it's the...
It's gonna be so fucking, in a way, it's good that Andrew keeps doing these inserts, because I don't know how much of this is just like Biden being sort of, I mean, he's not a young guy, right? But Hunter Biden's, he's been around for a while, but it's just, Nick is lying so fucking much in this. He's making himself out to be a fucking victim. They're so addicted to the persecution complex. He got banned. They didn't give him a specific reason for why he got banned, but we all have a pretty good idea of which line of dialogue it was that got him in trouble. And the idea that, like, I was just baffling decision making and why did this happen? How could it have happened? It's just fuck off. Fuck off, bro.
Other ones like Uber, Airbnb, whatever, it feels like you're being denied almost something like a civil right. The social platforms are the modern public square. Increasingly with Uber, Airbnb, the banking apps, you can't live your life without the tech platforms. And it felt like if you just simply had the wrong opinions or you were the wrong kind of person, you were being deprived of like a basic civil right or being able to participate in society. So, you know, and I think maybe that's an area of collaboration where we recognize maybe it is a civil right to use the digital platforms, but here are the rules. Here's what you can say, here's what you can't say, here's the process. Maybe there's a reconciliation mechanism, but I mean, the censorship was just out of control. I don't think anyone disagrees there's a reasonable limit, though.
Yeah, no, I guess what I'm saying is that I don't see that as a result of left-wing or right-wing ideology. I view that kind of level of deplatforming. Look, I was debanked. I was debanked before I was ever even charged with anything. I lost every bank account. It took me, 9 months once they, the Trump administration, said that they were starting an investigation into me to be able to actually get a bank account again. And I don't want tell you the bank because tomorrow they may debank me again. But my point is that those people are incredibly identifiable. I keep, like, I've been talking and going around and I say things like, I don't think we are nearly as divided as they're telling us we are. Because I do believe that there are an identifiable group of people that are responsible for an enormous amount of the discord and division because they make money off of it. I think that these social media companies that are controlled by what?
I know that people have been shitposting, but I wonder if Biden has any plans of like running for the office or anything like that, because it's very sort of populist rhetoric that we're hearing, isn't it? Like it's not the left or the right, it's all of us, the people together and all of that bollocks. I don't know if it's the place for it, really.
3, 4, 5, individuals have made it clear that they only care about one thing. They only care about how much money they can produce for themselves and, the people that hold stocks in their company. Even to the degree where we know for certain that they're driving teenage girls to the highest levels of suicide by a factor, like exponential factors, directly related to the content that they're being pushed, and they won't do anything about it.
Right.
And so, to the same degree, I think they, a lot of what you call wokeness was maybe an illegitimate, but a financial decision based on a lot of these.
Corporate psyop, maybe.
Corporate psyop.
Thank you.
I mean, by the way, exactly.
I just wanted to back up real quick. So you talked about certain people going too far. About 2.5 months ago, I visited a whites-only community in Hardy, Arkansas. And I don't know why, I guess coming from like a more like left-wing place, I'm from Seattle, I kind of assumed there was like a united front on the right for some reason. So I'm out there, I'm chilling with these dudes, they're like sword fighting, having barbecues. Overall it was a good time for them. I had a hard time connecting with them because I don't agree with them, but it's all good. I was having fun for a couple days. And then like right as I was there, I guess you had hit them up on X or something and said like, hey, I don't want to associate with you guys. What happened there?
Well, that was really more of a personal disagreement with the guy that founded it.
Yeah.
But I do think it's an interesting project, and it's interesting that got so much pushback, this whites-only community, because you know what? If you go to a lot of these different neighborhoods in major cities, there are ethnic enclaves, and it's not like there's an explicit rule that you have to be a certain ethnicity, but we all know in Chicago and New York and LA, you got certain neighborhoods where it is 80, 90% one ethnicity.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of white people that say we kind of want something similar. I don't think there's anything.
But Nick, what is this
Well, okay, let's back up. If you want to talk
That's
about
funny.
the histories of New York and Chicago, I feel like that was also a conscious decision that was made like
I
after
tell
the
you
Civil
where
Rights
it's
Act.
blacks only. It's in Cabrini Green, where Mayor Daley made everybody that was black live in the Cabrini Green. I mean, it's not. That wasn't by choice. It's not by choice that these ethnic enclaves are 80 or 90%, whatever that ethnicity is. It's because that's the only place in which they had an opportunity to live unbothered, or where they were told that they had to live because of the historical fact that they could not move into other neighborhoods. You could not move into parts of South Chicago without, being stoned.
Right.
Literally, right?
Yeah,
and so, like so it's not as if those ethnic enclaves are there by choice. And so that
Also, ethnic enclaves do exist for like specific variations of different.
It's also ironic because places that are predominantly white absolutely do fucking exist, and by and large they don't want Nick Fuentes' type there at all.
Europeans, there is like places that are chocolate, like South Philly's full of Italians.
But there's Little Italy and there's Little Korea.
I think the issue,
Japan.
I always what confused me the most about the whites only community is like there's just so many different kinds of white people in America. So like to establish a unified white culture with a place so diverse and full of like different regional flavors just kind of felt confusing to me because that could mean a different thing depending on what part of the country or what European enclave you originated from. Like we're Irish people from the Philly area. Can you compare that to like surfers in San Diego or even like Italian Americans in Staten Island? I don't know, everything just feels so different. So when I got there, I was trying to identify what they meant by white culture. It wasn't really based on shared like cultural practices, but more the exclusion of people who weren't white. So they weren't like stoked on being European necessarily. They were more just like, oh, we're here because those people aren't here. So it just kind of felt more negative than constructive.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not really involved with that project in particular, but I think that, look, I mean, you talk about the anger that's out there and the frustration, and I think part of the frustration, let's be honest, is that white people do feel like we are being boxed out.
It is, although with that, Amanax, you've got a whole host of issues that are going to be very different to like how these white-only enclaves like want to function. But I agree with you. Hey, Lily. I mean, I'm Polish. I lived in the UK for a very big portion of my life, and I always had a fairly, I felt like a bad vibe around like the Polish enclaves that I had in my city, for example, or that I knew exist around where I lived. And it just, I don't know, I was never a big fan of those. It was always, there was always like this undertone of like, you know, we're the same people, so we got to support one another. And there was always like this weird hostility behind it as well. It's just weird. Oh, Diddy Lily, how bad does it get?
In major cities in the country, and it feels like, look, there's a little Haiti, and there's various ethnic enclaves where you get that local culture, and they do their, you know, cultural festivals and that sort of thing. And white people feel like they're being pushed out, and they want a space where things are familiar.
Do you feel the same way about the Italian festival that happens in every city?
Well, here's a good example. So,
or St. Patrick's Day?
Well, you know, there's no Irish neighborhood in Chicago. Little
Sure
Italy.
there is.
I mean, there's some
Also,
remnant in Bridgeport.
yeah.
And,
It's important to note that, like, and I'm not trying to get into like a shouting match here, but like, you know, as a family who did, coming from a family who did leave Philadelphia in the 60s because of black migration from the South after the Civil Rights Act was passed, there was a sort of like mass flight of white people into the suburbs, and that kind of led to a homogenization of different cultures because they rushed so fast to build these like identical strip mall suburbs that it was very hard to maintain cultural bonds that made different European and white neighborhoods unique around like the 1950s and before. So I feel like the mass suburbanization is also a big factor that led to those like cultural bonds breaking.
yeah, but why did that happen? I mean, a lot of the suburbanization is because of the race riots in the 1960s. People moved out because of the violence. You know, my grandfather was in the National Guard in Chicago when, after MLK got assassinated, the whole West Side burned to the ground. And people didn't want to be around that anymore.
Why were there riots?
Yeah, MLK Jr. was assassinated.
Yeah. yeah.
And so does that justify burning down the city?
No, I didn't say it justifies it, but it sure justifies an enormous amount of the anger. The same kind of anger that you feel about being left out. The same kind of anger that you're expressing right now about the idea that you're culturally irrelevant, that you don't have a place in society.
True.
Imagine if you were a 26-year-old black man in 1968 and saw your hero be assassinated.
I saw Trump get shot in the ear, and
did he?
And I saw Charlie Kirk get shot, and I didn't see any cities get burned down. It's funny how that works.
I think it's a very, very, very different thing. I think
How
it's
is that different? Charlie Kirk
thing.
got shot in the neck.
Yeah.
And liberals celebrate.
Well, even in, it is different. Even in this specific, Jesus, these people are fucking exhausting to listen to. Hunter's point is that you've got this massive uproar in the black community that has been very marginalized, and a person who's speaking out against this marginalization has just been fucking assassinated, and he's comparing it to modern day events where white people are okay and they're not being marginalized, and they don't have fucking 3/5 of the vote, and they're not being redlined, not institutionally, right? White people have their own issues, sure, but not institutionally. And Charlie Kirk got fucking domed.
By whom?
All over social media by Tyler Robinson.
Yeah. Who is what?
Who is some liberal guy.
He is?
Mm-hmm.
But
he's got a transgender boyfriend.
So that makes him liberal? Because he's transgender? Because he's gay?
So. Well, because he's got a transgender boyfriend, yeah, I think so.
It makes him liberal?
I think he was liberal, yeah.
Okay. Well, he didn't come from a liberal family. He didn't come from a liberal enclave. He didn't come from a liberal background. He's not a minority. He was a Mormon, correct? Mm-hmm. And grew up in a Mormon household. And he went to a largely Mormon college. Mm-hmm. And he ended up committing an act of violence, according to the FBI and the authorities in Utah that charged him. How does that in any way compare to what we're talking about? I'm not justifying the violence that occurred after the death of Martin Luther King, but you're saying that that person, this Tyler, whoever his name is was as disenfranchised as the African-American community in 1968 in inner cities?
Well, the question is who we want to live around.
I'm not living around blacks. Sorry. I want white kids, and I don't want my white kids bringing home black people to marry.
And in the 1960s, the West Side burns down.
Another point of irony, he talks about wanting white kids. In his case specifically, he's most probably going to have to adopt them. But he's also against gay people adopting children. So it's just like a bizarre thing. Like, what are you doing, Nick? What are you doing, bro?
that. We don't want to live around a city
That's
that's
not when
burning
that
to the
happened.
ground.
That's not when the white flight happened.
It
That's
is.
Not, no,
It was
is
a big
not.
response to it,
There's no-
absolutely.
100% not. You
Absolutely.
make these historical connections that don't exist. Part of it was potentially, but before that, what Mayor Daley did is made Chicago the most segregated city in the entire United States, other than Boston. When you would come from the South to Chicago, African Americans from the South, blacks in the South coming to Chicago would say that Chicago was twice the level of segregation and racism that occurred in the South. And so it wasn't as if you're coming into a situation in which you're feeling in any way enfranchised by the community and the situation that you're in. And as many people left simply because of the idea that someone was black moving into their neighborhood as the violence that occurred after the assassination of Martin Luther King. So the numbers actually, pre-1968, when King was shot, you had more people leave the city because of the desegregation, because of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, than you did after the riots.
I think that's just not true. I think that the race riots were a huge driver of white flight to the suburbs. I think it's just dishonest to say that's not the case.
Okay, so what's your point about all of this?
Well, we're talking about where people want to live.
Yeah, I know. So like what in 2026?
Well, how about in 2020 when Minneapolis burned to the ground? Or how about in the summer of 2020 in Chicago?
Minneapolis didn't burn to the ground.
It didn't?
No. I mean, there were
BLM
parts
didn't
of it.
destroy dozens of structures?
If you guys need a physical witness to what happened in Minneapolis, there were many structures that burned to the ground. Not the city, but there was, I would say, between 40 to 50 buildings off of Lake Street in the south side that did burn to the ground. But most of the city was intact, but it was quite an intense situation.
People don't want to live around that. People don't want to live around that. You know, in Chicago, it rolled on into the summer, and it wasn't, you know, let's say, the anger of the oppressed and the disenfranchised.
So
they were
fault?
looting. They were looting and carjacking.
They?
The criminals.
Are you saying that the problem with the 26-year-old white kid living in suburbia outside of Chicago and his feeling of being disenfranchised is because there was looting and rioting in Minneapolis by black people? And it's black people that are doing it.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Austin Metcalf was that he got stabbed in the neck at a track meet. And the problem with our city in Chicago is that the Magnificent Mile is gone. Water Tower Place is gone because of all the crime.
Nick, and the time of an entire generation of African Americans is that they've been getting killed by cops for decades.
That's
what are
just
you
not
talking
true.
about, Nick?
Doesn't commit crime. And listen, it's not...
Nick.
What?
That's not true. It's not true. Are you saying that police brutality as it relates and racism in the police force, in the way in which police treat African Americans? Nick, you could grow up here like I did between Wilmington and Philadelphia. And if you were a black dentist and you lived in Wilmington and you commuted to Philadelphia, the chances of you being pulled over by a state trooper, either Delaware or in Pennsylvania, are about 50 times that would be if it was a white guy. 50 times. And so what you're trying to tell me is that the problem in America right now is that a 26-year-old white kid who lives in suburban Chicago doesn't feel like he has access because he's been canceled or he's been woke, and the problem is black people.
I didn't say the problem's black people.
Well, you just did, Nick. You just said
the problem is crime, and we know who's doing the crime in Chicago. The carjackings, shootings, teen takeovers. We know why there's no business on the Mag Mile anymore, and it's because they steal cars, they drive them through windows. And listen, black people are some of the biggest victims of the black crime. But we're not allowed to talk about it because of the racial dimension.
What do you mean you're not allowed to talk about it? We're talking about it right here.
Hey guys,
you have a platform in which millions of people listen to you, Nick.
I think
well, after Elon had to buy Twitter and open it up. It wasn't like that before. I was banned from everything for many years. So no, you weren't allowed it. You're right. We can talk about it now, but that's only because the good guys won.
Hey, what's up, guys? There's something I forgot to tell you about. We also just launched our own streaming platform called C5.now. We have...
Yeah, and look, Andrew, if you weren't a rapist, I'd love to hear you out. But on this one, Chief, I want to go back to Hunter Biden and Nick Fuentes talking and me losing my mind at Nick Fuentes being a fucking idiot.
You have Kick, and now you have all of these other things. You have an enormous platform. I want to find common ground of how much of a shithead Donald Trump is. We can get there. Okay. What I don't understand is how you didn't recognize that in 2016, and how you didn't recognize that in 2020, and how you didn't recognize that in 2024. Because Donald Trump hasn't. Because Donald Trump hasn't changed. Donald Trump hasn't changed at all. Donald Trump has been Donald Trump since he came out of the womb of a woman that was an immigrant to this country. And so what I want to know, though, is that I don't know how we get past this idea that the biggest problem that you
The
have,
right wing is being censored. You can read about it in my
your
bestseller
personal
book.
situation,
True.
and how you extrapolate that to the
Absolutely true.
situation of other white kids that are your age, that feel disenfranchised, that feel left out, that feel they don't have a shot at the American dream, is because of black and brown people, because of Mexicans, because of Venezuelans, because of Haitians, because of, it's always other, Nick, with you, it seems to me. And I've listened to a lot of the stuff. It's always them. We need to build a wall. Where's the wall, Nick? He never built the wall. Why'd you vote for him in 2020? Why'd you vote for him in 2024?
I didn't vote for him in 24.
Okay, well, okay. My point being is that whenever you identify your problem as being something that is other, that you can point to, that's a minority, that is a group of people, that's the Jews, I mean, before, remember, all of us, you know, it was the Irish Catholics who were all committing the crime, who weren't allowed into bars, who weren't allowed.
And the exact same rhetoric that so many Polish people use against Ukrainians right now is the rhetoric that was used against Polish people not too long ago in the London riots, or even more recently with Brexit. That's a way more timely example. I don't know why my mind went to London riots when Brexit is so much of a better example of all that shit happening.
Into, because you know why? Because they were dirty, poor, non-Europeans. They were Irish. Every time it's wrong. Every time history has proven that to be wrong in the United States of America. Every time. Inclusion has been our greatest strength. Diversity has been our greatest strength. And I hear you talk about this idea of white culture. What fucking white culture are you talking about, man? What
Shakespeare, Dante, Mozart. We're in Philadelphia, the founding fathers.
Yeah.
That's your white culture.
How about the Count of Monte Cristo? Would you consider that part of our white culture?
Sure.
Okay. Well, it was written by a black man in France in the 1700s.
In a milieu of European civilization.
So what?
Because you're picking out one example. It really is.
I'm not just picking out one example.
It really is.
Nick.
Listen.
Nick, I'm not. I really am not.
Hey guys, I think we're reaching what's called a rock and a hard place. Let's talk about Israel.
Well, let me respond to this, because you're telling me I'm always blaming the other.
No, Nick, for real. Here's the thing, is that the way that you talk and throw out these historical facts, which, by the way, aren't fucking facts. Okay?
Which ones aren't facts?
Well, as it relates to the Civil Rights Movement in 1968, and the reason why we're out in the problem that we're in is because the Civil Rights Act passed in 1964. Dr. Martin Luther King was killed and shot by a white racist, white supremacist in 1968 on a balcony of a motel. That's the root of our trouble, because an entire people that have been disenfranchised and enslaved for over 400 years.
We're sick of hearing about that, though. It's 2026.
You may be sick of hearing about it, but you know what? They aren't. And I'll tell you what, Nick, here's the other thing.
Get over it. It's America.
Okay, but Nick, you can say stuff like that, okay, without having to say it like that. And
that's not how it started, though.
This is a legitimate argument, but it's, Nick.
Guys, Nick, Hunter, what do you guys make of the concept of community collapse? Have you guys heard of this?
No.
So it's got nothing to do with race, got nothing to do with money, but this is kind of a crazy stat. So in 2019, before COVID, 76% of Americans said they were a part of an in-person community that gave them some kind of value. After COVID, and this year, it was 19%. So I think that politics and race aside, one of the biggest issues is the collapse of social bonds, third spaces, communities, in-person engagement, which comes with loneliness, more time online, and more division. I understand. I feel like you guys aren't going to agree. I want to talk about what you guys think can be done on an individual and community level to stop people from hating each other and to create more belonging and engagement.
Well, number one, I think this. Okay, for real.
Podcasting.
No, not podcasting, this discussion. For me to be able to sit down with someone who I so vehemently disagree with and find some kind of common ground.
But I mean, guy at home who's watching this on his phone just thinking, I wish I could go outside, but I don't know anyone.
Okay, well, here's what I'm talking about. It's all about connection. It is all about actually connecting with people. And I'm not talking about digitally connecting with people anonymously online. I'm talking about actually going out and connecting with people. And I don't have an answer to that. I don't, any of us. We're in look, man, I just think that you are targeting the wrong problem, Nick. I think that our biggest problem right now doesn't have to do with this cultural divide or racial divide or religious divide or the idea that America is becoming less white or culturally relevant anymore. I think our biggest problem is literally an oligarchy that is inflaming every single division that we have. And by the way, and they're out for you, man. Just as much as anybody else.
Why not agree?
So those platforms that we talk about that you're not allowed to be on because Elon's out on the platform. Elon doesn't give a shit about anything other than one thing.
But Hunter, I just want to say,
money.
real quick.
money and his money.
I don't necessarily even agree with that.
Okay, well,
Okay,
you may
real
not
quick,
agree with
back
that
to what I was
because you
saying.
don't
So
want to piss off
you're-
Elon
you're
Musk.
It's not, Elon doesn't even like me, but I just disagree.
You're talking about the oligarchy, right? Like
Yeah.
these billionaires, right?
Yeah.
Like the goal of corporate capture of these industries is community collapse. They are trying to engineer things to make it antisocial. They want to eliminate every single small business. They want to make everyone a single person shopper, no carpooling, like to be a lonely consumer who only buys things for themselves online and doesn't talk.
The American obsession of trying to use cultures of specific places and groups in Europe as the white culture of someone who's been separated from its sixth generation is so fucking tiring. It's tiring as well because if you're a white European, you don't talk about culture the way they do, and it's bizarre to you when they do it that way. Like the idea that a person here in Poland, or even in Germany or France, if you don't want to consider Poland part of the Western world, because these people certainly don't, the idea that you'd tell to a Polish person that, you know, the white culture, nobody's going to think about fucking Vikings and shit like that. No, like, people aren't going to think about fucking Dante. It's just, just fuck off.
Talk to anyone in real life. That's what they want in real life. Like all this data center shit, like everything they're doing is in a way trying to break up in-person engagement. And I feel like for you guys, it might be hard to answer because both of you guys are what they call like controversial public figures. Like there's places that you, like in 2018, if you were to go to a dive bar in, let's say, Poplar Bluff, Missouri, you would have been in danger. You know what I mean? At that time. For you were in danger physically in a left-wing city. It's just the truth. So I feel like you guys have been deprived of the ability to have normal lives. You especially, you know, but I mean you in general, but I feel like, you know, your controversies came a little bit later in life. For you, I feel like you haven't even been able to grow up as a normal person. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, that's true. Well, and in terms of, you know, building community back and everything like that, you know, the data says that really the loss of society is the fact that we don't encounter people anymore. For example, on your way to work or, you know, in ways that are unexpected. People wake up in their house, which is separate from everybody else. They get in their car.
You encounter people on your way to work all the fucking time. It's just you retards are unemployed. And then you talk to people who are already down and you like almost fucking take those experiences away from them. Do you know how many fucking people I bump into every day on my commute to work? Yeah, no wonder Nick Fuentes isn't meeting people. Nick Fuentes doesn't leave his fucking house.
Are by themselves, drive to work by themselves, you know, and then they meet with their colleagues and everything, but then they go right home, have a beer, watch Netflix until they go to bed. Next day starts all over again. And so, you know, I think it has a lot to do with maybe how we structure the cities. I think, honestly, a big part of it, there's like this abundance mindset with liberals. Liberals want to have prosperity and everything like that. How can you have that when the cities are not safe? I think that one of the ways, for example, if you want to have those encounters that are unplanned or spontaneous, they're going to happen maybe on the subway, on the bus, on your way to work. People don't want to ride the subway anymore. People don't want to ride the bus. They don't
I just feel
like
that
it's
if
safe.
you look at the data, like right now, 2026, I think 2025 had the lowest homicide rate of any year in America for like the past 4 years. I feel like if you compare data from the 90s, like the cities, I get what you're saying, but the cities I have noticed are a lot safer. They're also, you know, becoming more expensive as well. It could have something to do with it.
You're absolutely right. It's what you're saying, Nick, is impossible to refute, right? Because everybody has an experience with violence or witnessing a crime, or whether it's just in their local newspaper or not, is that I don't think that is in any way limited to only urban environments. I take the top 10 poorest red states in the country, and their crime rates are 10 times what many urban centers are.
So you'd be comparing like West Virginia, coal country, disenfranchised to like an urban neighborhood.
Yeah, in terms
You
of
take a bus, tram, no. I drive part of the way with my car, and then I take public transport for the rest of the way. Yeah. He was just talking about metros, though. How can you not meet? How do you not see other people around you in a metro? Chris, I thought you were building Legos. Not quite. No, Warhammer. I'm not big on Legos. I never really was.
A crime in terms of per capita murder, in terms of per capita child
it's
sex
absolutely
abuse?
I'm not saying that there isn't a disappearance of third spaces. There absolutely is, and I've spoken about it a number of times. There is a genuine problem there. But the issue that you've got is that the corporations are trying to make that be the reality because it works in their favor commercially. And people like Nick Fuentes want it to be the reality as well, because the more sad, depressed, terrified men there are out there, the more of an audience he's got to peddle his shit to. So they have the exact same incentive structure. Like, it's just the exact same type of structure.
I think the things that people really care about, you know, things like that, is their own personal safety.
Salty.
It is not limited to African American urban or Latino American urban environments. It's not. It exists. Carjackings do happen, but you know where they happen? They happen in Biloxi, Mississippi, just as much as they happen in Chicago.
I'm skeptical of that.
I mean, I just think the idea of like safety at risk, crime has been. I feel like media has overblown the level of danger.
Everybody's going to fact check both of us on this, and but I agree with you. But my point about all of it is that you can always point to a reason, Nick. There's never been a time in which there hasn't been crime in major urban areas where you pack a lot of people in. You're right, though, is that the difference between us feeling like each other were our neighbors and that we can find some common ground is the fact, you know, you can live in existence now and by the time you're 56 years old and never really have to leave your house to make a living, to, you know, you don't go to the community center anymore. And I don't know how to fix that. And I certainly don't know how to fix it in the age of AI.
Right? Because community is like an essential human need, if not the most important thing. So when you are deprived of that, you're more likely to look for a radical solution and be like, everything's broken, we need to try something really out there. So you might embrace something more reactionary on left or right to be like, fuck this, you know, we need something new. And I'm not trying to draw this like male loneliness, like incel pipeline that the media tries to do all the time. But do you see a connection there between like people being lonely and having less friends and subcultural choice taking over community value systems or community engagement and people just like driving to the extreme?
100%. I think social dislocation is probably the #1 problem of our times, because you look at the young people and you're right, it is one of those essential human needs, is to connect and have that sense of familiarity, to be seen, to see and to be seen. And that's something young people don't have. And I think, by the way, you look at the way young people socialize and even the mentality, I think a lot of young people have this absolute drive to go to college. Why? It's an extension of high school. And what do high school and college have in common? It's a community. You're in the quad. You can see and be seen. There's sort of like a status, reputation. You're constantly involved with other people. And I think everybody, young people, look at when they graduate from college like falling off a cliff and now life is over. Because now you just have your job, the gym, and going back home, and that's it. And this is why a lot of young people then want to move to the big cities. Got to go to New York, got to go to Chicago or LA where it's happening. And they want to get a condo or an apartment downtown because they want to go to the bar scene, extend college a little bit longer. And I think that's just not really a sustainable way to have a society. There has to be a way for people to still have that sense of community outside of, let's say, college and high school, even into their adulthood, and then into their old age. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest problems going on. And I agree. I think it drives, even to your point about the whites-only community in Arkansas, I think it is driving these, let's call it ghettoization or insulation of people going into these artificial values-based communities.
Yeah.
Because where are you going to find people? Go online. Go online, start spouting about politics, or, you know, even not just for incels and right-wingers, but even on the left. Someone like Tyler Robinson, he's on Discord. He's on Discord with all of the Overwatch players and all the LGBTQ or whatever. And I think that, you know, there's a tendency there where everybody kind of amplifies some of the resentment or feelings there. So I agree, that's a huge driver.
So for you, like back in high school when you were like first kind of starting to use the internet and all that, did you build most of your community in person outside Chicago, or was it mostly online?
When I was in high school or college?
High school.
The high school, I had real friends in Model UN. That was my favorite thing. So that was.
But you were still creating like some kind of content.
Yeah, well, do you know what, Ritesh? It is what it is, bro. Fight me. I should probably clean up around here. And trust me, you are seeing nothing, my friend. You are seeing nothing. It's a lot worse on that side.
Not in high school, no.
Okay, so you went to BU.
Yes.
Were most of your friends like classmates there? Like when did you start to kind of build your online persona and community around your content?
It wasn't until I left college. So to that point, I had friends in college. And then when I left college and started my show independently, then it was all people online. And everybody I knew was people from my community for the most part.
But your cancellation from mainstream platforms was effectively the same thing as like a community collapse for your personal life, right?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even say it was just the cancellation, but even more just returning home from college.
What do you think would have happened to you, like career-wise and personal life-wise, if you never would have been mainstreamed? I mean, I guess removed from major social media platforms.
Oh, it'd be a lot easier to make friends, let's say, because, you know, being banned on Instagram, you might as well be dead in Generation Z. That's how everybody sees each other, meets each other, talks to each other. So I think I probably have a wider, livelier circle.
Do you feel like you had less friends after that?
No, I'd say it's about the same.
No, but I mean, you said that you feel like it would have been easier to make friends.
It would have been easy to make more friends, yeah, sure.
So aside from your career, how was your personal and social life affected in those following years?
Well, it's brutal, you know? I mean, because everybody that I knew from high school is on Instagram, on Facebook, and I'm just not on there. It's almost like you're removed from the earth. For Generation Z, I understand for older people, for different generation, people still meet up or stay in touch. And
Nick Fuentes is the same age that I am. Now again, it's probably just because of a different circumstance and everything. I don't use Facebook at all. I have Facebook, don't get me wrong, but I don't use it at all. Specifically, a couple of years ago, I removed my birthday from Facebook just because the only time I'd ever get the only time I'd ever go on Facebook is once a year on my birthday to say thank you to the few family members or like a few friends who'd wish me happy birthday on fucking Facebook out of all the places for whatever reason. And I thought to myself, it's a bit silly to have a social media platform for that reason alone. I use Messenger, but that's mostly to communicate with my wife. Facebook is weirdly popular in Poland. I mean, Facebook is pretty popular overall, you know, not just in Poland.
other ways. But if you're not online as a young person, you might as well be dead.
Do you think you would have said like some of the more extreme things that you did say if you know, I guess were allowed to remain on the mainstream internet?
Absolutely, yeah.
Looking back, and I'm not trying to get you to like take something back necessarily, what's like one thing that you said when you were younger where you're like, fuck, I wish I could take that back?
You know, I don't know if I regret what I've said. It's just how you say it.
Yeah, like,
you know,
can you think of an example of like when you listen back to something and you're like, geez, I wish I could.
Yeah. So I did this rally in 2023 called Fuentes Rally 2. And the one comment I said, we're talking about a spiritual battle between Christians and everybody else. And I said, we're in a holy war. I said, and we're going to make them die in a holy war. And the second I said that, I was like, didn't mean to say that. It's an extemporaneous speech. So you don't rehearse it, you just say things. And I was like, didn't mean that. Shouldn't have said that. So it's always the how. It's always in the delivery that
He did mean that though, right? That's why he said it. He definitely meant it. He just wasn't happy with the consequences of having said it and having meant it. If instead of pushback he would have received profound support, he wouldn't be regretting it right now. It's just that's the type of all of these like weirdo fucking holy war is incoming people. It's just fucking weird people, a lot of them. It's not much different from Tim Pool's Civil War's coming shit. Anyone know why people are disappearing from Discord lately? Is it the facial ID stuff? I don't know if the facial ID stuff is actually rolled out in most places. Like over here I don't have it. That's my messenger, I'm sorry. But maybe. It certainly makes sense.
Nick, I can think of about 4 things that I really wish you would take back right now. But
Like
what are you
what?
gonna do? The cookies in the oven?
Well, that's a joke.
But it's not, Nick. My wife is Jewish. My son is Jewish. No,
come on.
Nick. I promise you. Don't get mad.
I'm not mad,
Okay,
it's just-
I know. But okay. But you gotta understand how incredibly, whether it's a joke or not, it's a lived experience passed down from generation to generation, whether or not, and by the way, not just from the Holocaust, not just from 1939 on, 2,000 years of history, okay? Forget about Israeli politics and Netanyahu, because I think we agree about Bibi Netanyahu. I'm positive we do, and I've listened to you talk about it. But you gotta understand, look at me, man.
I see.
It hurts. It hurts.
Does it?
Nick, I promise you it does. When you compare my wife's family to cookies going to an oven, it hurts. And you got to understand that. And by the way, I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
And I believe that you do know that.
See, that's where you
Nick,
lose me. That's where you lose me.
Okay, Nick. Okay, I'm telling you.
Well, listen, are we here to talk or are you here to lecture me and preach
Okay, no,
to
you're
me?
right. Let me listen.
Okay.
Listen, you're right.
So
You're right.
this is the
Okay.
thing, because, you know, and I think this is a disconnect. I think that the left, and even people on the right, they're losing the young people. Why do people love me? Not in spite of, but because of the outrageous things that I say. Not in spite of, but because I say offensive things things, because I, let's say, drop the N-word on a video or something, it's because people are sick of the preachiness, the
Nick.
lecturing.
Okay, I'll listen
they
to what
really
you
are.
say. But Nick, I disagree. I think that you're appealing to the lowest common denominator of thought. If you're hating on the people that they think are the reason for their suffering, then you must be on their side. I don't think that you believe that about the Holocaust. I think
he might be. I think he might be attributing. Do you know the saying? Don't attribute malice to where. What is it? Don't ascribe malice where ignorance is apt to something. Fuck, there's a saying. I've said it a bunch of times in the past. I don't know why it's just completely out of my brain right now. What is the saying? Don't ascribe malice where ignorance will do? That doesn't sound right. It sounds close, but it doesn't sound right. But the bottom line is that I think that's what he's doing to Nick Fuentes, but with Nick Fuentes, it's not ignorance, it is malice. It's always malice. He's just a pretty bad dude. Like fucking metaphysically bad, you know what I mean? He just is.
You think the Holocaust did happen. But forget about whether or not you think that it is used politically in a way that is obtuse and wrong. But I think that you do believe that. And I think that you have to. Like, what's your cultural heritage?
I'm Italian, Mexican, and Irish.
Mexican. When did they come in Italian? When did the Mexicans come? When did the Irish come?
Mexicans came turn of the last century.
Yeah.
Italians came in the 1860s.
Yeah.
Irish came in the early 1900s.
Okay. So maybe you wouldn't care about something that is like grossly offensive just on the face of it and think that, oh, why can't people just believe that that's funny? But you got to understand this from the perspective of somebody that has that trauma, and I think that there is such a thing as generational trauma, and those stories are passed down generation to generation. When you say something like that, they completely shut off. They can't hear another thing that you're saying about this cultural disconnect, about losing communities, about the feeling of being left out or left behind in a world in which there no longer is this sense of community. All the other things that you say, everybody else is left, and what you do pick up. You pick up the ones that hear the dog whistle. You pick up the ones that say, yeah, that's the way that I feel. Because it's radical. It's like he's willing to say the thing that nobody else will say in this environment. And then you get, an enormous amount of niche, but love from that. And I just don't believe that you believe that. I don't believe that you think that it was appropriate for you to say something like that. I don't think you believe that it's appropriate to say women shouldn't vote.
Let's give Nick a second to respond to the first thing.
I know, I talk constantly. That's how I do this.
It's all good. It's all good.
I apologize.
I get it, and I understand that perspective, and it is offensive, and it is provocative, and that's sort of what makes it funny. I mean, what we would say in our generation is edgelording. We're being edgy. We're being provocative. And I think that it is that kind of overbearing sense for our entire...
Nick, I'm the king of edgelord.
Well, in the certain way.
Let's let Nick explain
I know.
the psychology.
It's that overbearingness that my generation's had our entire lives. That's not appropriate. That's not funny. Think of the trauma. That's racist. That's white supremacist. That makes it funny. That makes it different, interesting. And let me grant, by the way, I think that now, and this is maybe a concession towards you. Now that my kind of humor has become mainstream and popular, I don't even think that that's funny anymore. People do the edgelording thing. It's become so commonplace and so tired. I don't think it's that funny or impressive. That's a big part of why I kind of moved past it, because 10 years ago, it was treated like sacrilegious. And there's something funny about the fact that you could say a word or make a joke and make people lose their minds and freak out. And it was like an international incident if you said the wrong thing. And I think that's what made it tempting, especially for a young person. You want to rebel, you want to be defiant, you want to be a little revolutionary or something. Now, as time has gone on, I think that's become a fad. Everybody does it. It's lost its power. And I think that, by the way, part of why we're getting less of it is because instead of getting the preachy lecture from the left saying that's not appropriate, people just roll their eyes. Now, when an edgy white person says the N-word, people roll their eyes and go, really? That joke again? People hear someone wears a Nazi costume, makes a Holocaust joke. People go, really? That joke again? It's not impressive. It's not funny anymore. We've seen it before. And ironically, that is what makes you get less of it when you
You gotta bully those people. It works. Nick's wrong, but he's not wrong in that like it will stop that behavior. You just gotta bully those people. You gotta bring back bullying. You gotta go full what's it called when the lefties turn bad? Dark woke? Is that what we were calling it the other day? Let's go with dark woke. You gotta bring the dark woke into it.
Power those things by not giving them this over-the-top reaction, pretending like it's some great travesty.
So you think the new counterculture is going to be woke again?
No, I think it's a synthesis.
A synthesis of post-edgelordism and wokeism?
Yes, because I think that wokeism had its
me.
excesses.
Yeah.
Edgelording also has its excesses. And I think now we're finding a middle ground between saying the edgiest thing we can think of with no regard for anyone and saying everything is racist. You know, if you say something, you should lose your job. We're finding a middle ground where, you know, maybe it's tastefully offensive in small doses, less is more.
So it sounds like you believe in the survival of the American experiment.
Yeah, I really do. And listen, I don't think everything about wokeism was bad, necessarily.
What's the best thing about wokeism?
I think that genuinely it has made people more respectful and empathetic. Because let's be honest, 20 years ago, let's say when I was growing up, I think there was a lot of cruelty. And I think there were some hateful attitudes. And I think as time has gone on, this younger generation, they may not be even left-wing.
The thing is with him, Nick Fuentes might say this, but I will use an example from more of the, a stupid example from like the VTuber side of things, if you will. There is a far-right VTuber named KrysSpeaks. And KrysSpeaks is mounting fucking huge cancel campaigns. Like to a point where she's actively trying to help get people fired. Because they've dared to suggest that, you know, maybe we shouldn't compare Charlie Kirk to Martin Luther King. Maybe that's a bit much. And to KrysSpeaks, somebody saying that was like, oh no, you should lose your job for that. Strictly off limit. You are not allowed to suggest that Charlie Kirk ought not to be compared to Martin Luther King. And Nick Fuentes can sit there and say like, oh no, you know, it's just we're sort of finding a good middle ground. It's all of that and all of the other. But like, no, for a lot of these people, it's the exact same sort of like cancel culture, trigger happy people who just, as soon as they have power, they want to like get rid of you, so to speak. They used to keep saying that this is like a thing typical to the left. I don't know, Chief. It looks, it unfortunately appears that that's a thing that you guys are doing currently. It's just, yikes.
They may not be what you'd consider woke, but I think they are respectful of people that have different ideas or, you know, a different way of life or from a different culture. You know, we make jokes all the time about the fact that I'm like a far-right guy and I'm Mexican. People say I'm a white supremacist, I'm Mexican. And people make a joke that a lot of far-right people are Hispanic. And I think that's a consequence that there's very little genuine racial hatred in anybody's DNA anymore, or any kind of hatred. And I think that's positive.
No, it's just that you looked
went too far. I think some of the other stuff went too far as well.
You know, one of these strange things about sitting in a room with these two is that they agree on almost nothing, but they've both lived the same nightmare. Hunter had a laptop turned into a decade of strangers picking through his texts, his private photos, his voice memo, and even his bank record. Whereas Nick has been doxxed, swatted, had his DMs leaked probably more times than he can count, and more shenanigans already in progress, and you can watch the whole Channel 5 all.
Not a little bit, I guess, from high school.
Can you do a little bit?
Un poco.
Okay,
I don't speak it from my dad, so.
Did you grow up like around a lot of Mexicans?
No, all white people for the most part.
Did they know you were Mexican?
They did. And I'm not gonna lie, I mean, people make fun of me for that.
What'd they say?
Well, like for example, one time when I was in Model UN, I was entering high school as a freshman. They looked at my name on the roster without knowing me. And they told me this after the fact, the leadership of the club. They said, oh, we thought you were just some Mexican kid, so we gave you a bad committee assignment.
Wow.
But see, I heard that and I laughed. I said, that's funny. You know, whereas a lot of people would say, oh, that's traumatic. I'm a victim of racism. You know, I think that's, you know, it's just a human thing.
Yeah, I always felt like growing up as like a white kid in America.
What if you went, what if you were and identified as being Mexican and they came to you and they didn't tell you that's the reason that they gave you all the bad committee assignments?
That would be unfair.
Yeah.
It's
That's
interesting.
the
I'm just
point.
saying.
That's the whole point, isn't it?
And
so
I'm
you
not-
may find it funny because you pass as a white Anglo-Christian.
Do you think I pass?
What?
Do you think I pass as a white Anglo-Christian?
Well, I not only think you
Yeah,
pass, I think you identify as it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. No, but really, for real. And my point is that I heard you do an interview, okay? And I literally on the write up here, is like you were talking about how you were raised on like Mark Levin in high school.
Right.
And the thing that you liked the most about Mark Levin is how cruel he was to the callers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that. I like the joke about the cookies. It may be a joke and it may be edgelording and you may not really mean it, but you got to realize the cruelty to it. And without going like, oh, like, you know, whan, like, you know, people got to stop crying about the past. And that's the thing, is that I think that you have such an opportunity to talk to a generation of disaffected, angry, legitimately angry people in a way in which is positive without having to do that shit. And by the way, and I'm not holding you responsible for like, you know, the end of you know, my conception of Western civilization, which is different than yours, but I just don't get it. I don't get why you find the cruelty. And I think that, by the way, I think that that's why you like Trump. I mean, I'm making, you know, like a very unfair leap because his first instinct is cruelty. His first instinct is to find the fault in the other. About everything, by the way. It's not his fault that that we're in a war with Iran, that he's ended 38 times and, you know, and started 39. It's not his fault that inflation's high. It's not his fault that the wall didn't get built. True. It's not his fault that ICE is killing people on the streets in these places.
It's not his fault he went bankrupt 76 fucking times. It's not his fault he raped Jean E. Carroll. It's none of it is his fault, you know? It's just it's just somebody else. It's just somebody else. But that's another bit that I don't know if Biden's being strategic here or if he's just being willfully ignorant. But a lot of people like the fact that Donald Trump is cruel. A lot of people, we have this mentality here in Poland as well. It's a fucking plague is what it is. It's a genuine issue. For a lot of people, the question that they ask themselves isn't like, or maybe the thing that they yearn for isn't that their lives are meaningfully improved. It's that the lives of those they dislike are worse than their own. And as long as their own lives don't even have to be good. As long as somebody else's who they dislike is worse. And it's just fucking sad, man. It's just malice. Sąsiad ma gorzej. Yeah, exactly.
Cruelty of it. Maybe it's a generational thing. I got friends who are Jewish that are going to be really, really fucking pissed off that I'm sitting next to you. And what do I tell them? What do I tell them why it's okay for me to sit and have this conversation with you?
I guess I just have such a different opinion of that. You know, why should we have to explain ourselves to talk to anybody? And why is it that saying the wrong words or making a particular joke makes it so the Jewish person wouldn't want to watch my show? I have a lot of Jewish fans. I mean, some of my best friends are Jewish. I've had Jewish employees, and they recognize that, you know, just because I'm not necessarily nice all the time doesn't mean I'm hateful, doesn't mean, I don't even think they see it as cruel. I think they see it as it's a little rough around the edges. And maybe that's the difference, is I guess it's just attributing this weight to something that can considered a joke and maybe doesn't have a cruel intention behind it. Like, you know, Mark Levin, you got to remember at the end of the day, it's an entertainment show. It's entertainment. People call in, he gets frustrated with them. It's part of what I do on my show. And it's not always nice, but it's funny. And I don't think it's mean-spirited necessarily, and I don't think it's that big of a deal. So, I mean, the thought that I would, like, for example, with you, people would say, why do you talk to Hunter Biden? His father and his DOJ froze your money and put you on a no-fly list. I'd say, so what? I mean, it's just talking. I don't think talking's a big deal. You know?
Froze my money and put me on a no-fly list, too.
There you go. See, so we got that in common.
So a different question that I have that kind of weaves everything together. How do you think, like, October 7th and the subsequent, like, pro-Palestine movement and the online worlds it created led to a growing audience on the right?
October 7th in particular? Yeah. Well, I think it highlighted and brought to the forefront how captured the right wing is by Israel, which is very unique. I think the Democrats and the Republicans are pro-Israel, but the Republican Party has this inextricable institutional emotional connection with the Israel lobby, with this Likud government in particular. And I think people just started to see the hypocrisies. The hypocrisy was brought to the forefront, which is America first, but not with Israel. No new wars except for with Iran.
Under Trump, we will have no more wars. No more wars. No more wars. They said he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. Tonight, Iran's Navy is gone.
You know, we're going to be racist and all these things, but don't you dare be anti-Semitic. Don't even, think about it.
I see good things about Hitler also. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
Why does your desk look like rough wood? I don't know what rough wood is. It's a wooden desk. You'll have to specify.
So I think that on the right wing, it made it unignorable that there's this ideological institutional capture.
I just feel like a lot of straightforward, like just anti-Semite influencers were taking advantage of the post-October 7th discourse to push other ideas, broader ideas about Jewish people as a whole.
Come out and say it. Like, I think that Jews are causing a disproportionate amount of problems in the United States.
Well, I mean, I think it's hard to ignore some of those other conversations. I know that it's now become maybe in vogue to say that the Israel issue is very narrow. It's just Netanyahu. It's just the Likudniks. It's just the Israel lobby. But, what would you say about someone like Larry Ellison? I mean, somebody like that, I don't think fits neatly into this, let's say, problem of Netanyahu.
As far as installing Barry Weiss and whatnot.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Because this is somebody who's not Israeli. He's not even a religious Jew, but he's ethnically Jewish and has this deep affinity for the state of Israel.
I feel a deep emotional connection to the state of Israel and the Israeli people.
And is using and mobilizing his power and resources and connections to benefit Israel in the private sector. And so if you were to say, what's a law that we could pass to prevent that kind of influence, what would it look like? He's an American citizen. He can't buy a media company and hire Barry Weiss to run CBS News, and yet we recognize that's a big problem.
I just feel the conflation of like anti-Zionism and like Holocaust denial played into the hands of the Israeli propaganda apparatus, because then they can say, hey, look, these people that oppose what we're doing in Palestine also don't think the Holocaust happened. It's a big jump in the public perception.
It was almost to me as if that was your intent. To lose any legitimacy about any argument as it relates to Israel and the Likud government, is to say those edgelording things or whatever.
Jews are Well, hold on. That's one argument, and I think that's fair to say, right? That it's like you're almost being so comedically stupid about this, that it's like you're almost trying to play into their hand. How about the bit where he's talking about how cool Epstein was? How about those clips where Nick Fuentes goes like, yeah, Epstein was really cool and I'm tired to pretend like he wasn't. Like that goes a step further, no? That's it's like now we're dealing with something extra in there.
Money changers, bullshit artists, psychopaths, charlatans, grifters, manipulators.
I don't know anybody that can hear you after you say that, including myself. It delegitimizes everything, because I don't think that you a little bit more compassion.
Let's try to stay a little. I don't want to do any character attacks on Nick.
I'm not attacking his character. I'm not attacking. I promise you. I'm
no,
not.
But as far as compassion, I more just mean straightforward. Do you feel like the rise in anti-Semitic online influencers post-October 7th has given Israel more ammunition to work with in terms of casting everyone who opposes what they're doing as just like a rabid Jew hater?
In some cases, yeah, in some cases, sure. But I also think that's overstated, because I think that, look, let's just be honest. I do believe the political left wants to make the Israel issue very narrow, and they want to say that the issue is this genocide in Palestine, and on some level they think that the Israeli government is racist.
You f***ing baying pig! You f***ing bloodthirsty, violent pig dog!
And that's the problem. And I think that ignores that there is a broader conversation, and it does have to do with the Holocaust, and it does have to do with Jews as such, and Jewish nationalism and Jewish identity. So to try to shoehorn it in and say, well, if anybody goes further than this very narrow critique of Israel, well, they're actually helping Israel, I don't agree with that. I think we have to unpack the whole conversation.
Well, do you care a lot about Palestinians?
Not more than I care about anybody else.
So I guess that would be why that they would be like, okay, you're just taking advantage of this discourse.
I don't think it's taking advantage. I think that we can sympathize with the Palestinians while also realizing that, you know, look, I'm an American. And so it's a tragedy what's happening in Palestine, but there's tragedies happening all over the world. My problem is that Israel has this influence over our government.
I'm a newcomer to politics, but not to backing the Jewish state.
And we're paying for the genocide, and we're furnishing them with the weapons to commit the genocide. And by the way, America is going to be held liable for this genocide, morally, but also politically and diplomatically and otherwise. But I think that people on the left, they may be guilty of maybe caring more about Palestine than they do about America.
Nick, but the left didn't cancel you.
I think the idea, Amanex, was just for like a more chill, casual conversation, right? I suppose.
And Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, and that was those.
Like he's less a moderator.
They may have
and more
utilized the
guide.
tools of the left, or what you call the left, to be able to do that. But it was the right that canceled you. And by the way, what I would consider a radical right. The Daily Wire, to me, is a radical right.
I don't think they're even reactionary. I don't think they're that conservative at all. Ben Shapiro, I mean, he's not like he's in favor of mass migration.
In 2016, they were alt-right.
No, they were not.
Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire were to the right of Mitt Romney.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's what I mean. And that's
they
what
weren't
I'm
Mormon
saying.
conservatives.
Yeah. My point was, that's who you were canceled by.
I was also canceled by the left.
No, I know. They came along. They came along because some of the more egregious things that you said is edgelording. They came along. And whether you call it canceling or saying like, what the fuck? This is what I call it. What the fuck? Like, you know, like, what the fuck? You know, and so, like, I don't find it funny. And just like you're able to say, well, I just think it's funny, I'm able to say, I don't find it fucking funny. I didn't find it funny then, I don't find it funny now. I didn't find it funny that some of the things that, you know, you said about me. But I'm willing to sit here and listen to you because I want to get to this, and this is my whole point. What about fucking Donald Trump?
Yeah, we can get to that. Yeah,
how did you?
At quite a few moments of this, when I'm listening to them talk, like I can almost forget it's Hunter, and it sounds like Joe. Like he's so similar in what he sounds like every now and then to his father. Is it just me, chat, or is it? Do you feel that as well?
Get how, of all the people in the world, but you could look at and say he doesn't believe anything.
So for context for the viewer, Donald Trump is currently the sitting president of the U.S. For our audience abroad. The war with Iran was supposed to be over. Now we're back in business, baby. Khomeini had a pretty sick funeral, if you saw the video. So you guys don't like Trump? You used to like him.
I did.
You've always hated him. He's tried to destroy your life.
Yeah.
You guys were cool. You guys hung out once at Mar-a-Lago with Kanye. You've never hung out with Trump, right? Would you want to?
No.
If
do I want to? Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Look, man, I would like, can we get him? Can we get him in the motel room?
So I want you to imagine.
Let's get him in the
I want you to imagine he's in the motel with us.
Yeah.
That's Trump. What do you want to, what do you want to ask him?
Oh, you know, put me on the spot. I don't want to ask Donald Trump anything because I know, and I think you would agree with me, is that Donald Trump isn't going to give me an authentic answer. Donald Trump never gives an authentic answer. He gives what people refer to as being authentic, but it's not authentic, it's audacious. It's like the example that I give that is the best metaphor for this is that he says he's 6'3", weighs 225 pounds. And everybody laughs because that's a little bit like edgelording, right?
Fat?
Everybody knows.
Do I remember that correctly? What was the percentage? Less than, was it 6% or was it less than 6% body fat? On that fucking blob of a man, less than 6% body fat. Like, what fucking world? In what world is that supposed to be believable? Fucking 6% body fat.
That he is maybe 6 feet and weighs maybe 300. 285?
He's a big guy. He's a pretty big guy.
Yeah, big guy. But by virtue of every picture ever taken of anyone that's 6'3", he's not 6'3".
I am.
Okay? Yeah, I know you are.
Thank you.
You're 6'2.5", maybe. That's maybe. But my point is that the reason I don't have a question for him is because I'm absolutely certain that
it's worse than that, Ritesh. It's not that he like says 1,000 lies and it becomes the truth. It's that he lies so much. He's done something actually a lot worse than that, and we talk about it now and then, but I think it's a fucking vicious cycle. Everyone's desensitized. He lies so much that people don't give a fuck about him lying anymore. And through the virtue of people not caring about him lying anymore, people don't care about talking about him lying anymore because you don't care because he lies so much. So it's like the calling out of him lying just becomes this thing where like, who gives a fuck at this point? And that's just fucking sad. That's insanely sad. When we're done with Zenestra, we're gonna have the Free Guild Commander Arch Knight to build, and he can come with either an axe or a hammer. What are we thinking, chat? An axe or a hammer? I'm thinking hammer for this one, because this is Warhammer. I feel like we finally have to give Leonard that one, you know? It has to be the hammer. But I do quite like the axe as well. Maybe I'll make up my mind later. Do you have pictures? Yeah, right here. This was the one with the axe. This is the one with the hammer. Horse rider knight. No horse riding ones in here. And we have to do one or the other. I quite like both of them. I'm definitely going with the helmet for this one, because I like the closed helmet. I can't paint faces, so I don't like open faces like this one has. One thing Chris and Vosh have in common, their hands are cold. True. No, unfortunately not. I wish I had more things in common with Vosh, but then I remember what kind of man Vosh is, and I think I'm happy where I am, you know? Okay, we've got a lot of votes for the hammer. A lot of votes for the hammer. Love to see it.
Going to give me an authentic answer. Look, he came into the Oval Office and the transition this time. And he told my dad that he thought that he did an amazing job. He did an amazing job with the economy. He did an amazing job that with NATO. He did an amazing job, and that he got a raw deal from his side, and anything he could do, particularly for Hunter. Hunter got screwed. Whatever I could do, you let me know. Bullshit. He then went out, and he has now since then done nothing but blame Joe Biden for every single one of his problems.
11 months ago, I inherited a mess. Joe Biden handed us over a country that was in very serious trouble. Biden gave us a horrible economy. And I really mean this. I think the good parts are the Trump economy, and the bad parts are the Biden economy.
He mentioned my dad's name or my family's name 6 times a day in the first 100 days of this administration.
Jesus.
6 times a day. He does it maybe 4 times a day now, because he has no answers. All he has is a finger to point. And that's all he does. My point is, I don't know what to ask him. You know, why are you such a dick?
What does your dad think about the war?
What? What? I don't.
No,
I'm not going to get into what
not
my
a thing
dad
for
thinks about the
horses,
war.
luckily.
Is it really? Because I don't want to get into.
That's just
I don't
Vosh,
put
I'm
words
afraid.
in my dad's mouth. Just like I wouldn't ask you what your dad thinks about the war. But your dad wasn't the president of the United States, which is a little bit different.
I don't even know if you know what's going on.
You know,
It's an Eagles fan.
look, all I can say is this: is that every single Israeli prime minister since at least Jimmy Carter was president, has walked into the Oval Office or picked up the phone and called the president and said, we have to attack Iran. And every single one of them has said no. And they may not all have had the same exact reason, but one of the reasons they did is because they knew what the consequences would be as it relates to the lifeblood of the economy, is petroleum in the Straits of Hormuz. Every single one of them knew that. And every single one of them knew that there is no way, unless you send in ground forces to end with certainty the nuclear program that the Iranians have.
Look at this absolute bad bitch being carried around by 2 scrubs. And she's got a little, you can't see the details here, but she's got a little fucking clepsydra. What's clepsydra in English? The thing with sand inside of it that goes from like one side to hourglass. Thank you. She's got an hourglass. She's a bad bitch, bro. On God, for real. She can sit here. And we can move on to the Free Guild Command Corps. Is she a sorcerer? She is a priest. fuck-ass little hero 4+ ward. Eat my ass, bro. I thought she's one of the only ones left with 4+ ward. Dude, did you see her ability in the Spearhead as well? I don't know what it is in Bigmar, but in Spearhead, you get to choose either 3 allies or 3 enemies, and you can mix and match, and you roll a d3, and for every +2, that's how much mortal damage the enemy takes. Or if you've chosen an ally, you just give them ward 5. So there are 5 units, I think, in Zenestra Zealot Spearhead. She already has ward 4+. You can give ward 5 to 3 of them, and then the general can choose ward from one of his enhancements, I think. It's just fucking everything's warded in that Spearhead, man. Everything.
Supposedly been building. Every single one of them knew that the existing Ayatollah, the Ayatollah at that time, had put out a fatwa, an edict saying that they would never turn their nuclear technology into a bomb.
The supreme leader of Iran issued fatwa. Having nuclear weapons is forbidden, is haram, which means never we can have nuclear weapons.
It was a religious edict as strong as if the Pope had released an encyclical. But what did he do? He kills the Ayatollah. We get a son that now has a far more radical and far greater ties to the IRGC. And what do we have? The Straits Hormuz are still closed. He said that they're brilliant people. I find that's Donald Trump on everything. He said he'd end the war in Ukraine on day 1.
That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president.
And I didn't hear anybody on the right and say, that's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. He said that he would build a wall. I don't believe in building a wall. But everybody said that's bullshit. And then when he got into office, the corruption, the level of the corruption. I mean, people believed, or led to believe, that there was this thing called the Biden crime family, right? I know that you know is that I didn't do a single piece of business when my dad was president. I made basically $200,000 a year selling paintings. I picked the thing that was the furthest possible thing away from politics that I possibly could. Don and Eric have done over $1.3 billion in contracts, just in contracts for underlying companies that they have an ownership stake in with the Department of Defense. Don Jr. got the largest loan ever given by the Department of Defense of a company that he bought into like 3 months before they got the loan. Because Peter Navarro picked up the phone and called DOD to get it done. My point is, I don't have anything productive to say to him that I know of. And when I listen to you, and I listen to what you do, my question is how did you not...
Damn, bro, I only make 200 grand a year for 4 years. Wait, you make 200 grand a year, Diz? Or are you saying that you make 50 grand a year? No, Jesus fucking Christ. I was gonna say, why the fuck are you not oiling it up in here, bro? I thought that you've just casually dropped the knowledge that, you know, you make 200 grand a year and, you know, you're just here for shits and giggles. I was genuinely, I was hurt. Bro, do you know that gif of 50 Cent just going like, why me? That's how I felt internally, but you're forgiven, you're forgiven. I thought you make 200 grand a year. I was gonna fucking riot, bro. Hey, Beans, I had a screening interview earlier today where the first 15 minutes was technical difficulties, and I just got the second in-person interview invite. Please send me all the fucking vibes, bro. I will keep my fingers crossed for you, Beans. I am manifesting good juju. I was making... Oh, you're making fun of Hunter saying that. Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, because I was going to say 200 grand is a lot of money, bro. 200 grand is big money. Big money. 200 grand a year, bro. If I was making 200 grand a year, I'd probably gift somebody 5 subs, you know, like once a quarter. I feel like, yeah. I feel like every now and then I'd show up to Beans' stream and I'd just be like, hell yeah, bitch. We partying tonight. And I'd like gift 2 subbies at least, you know? You gotta be fiscally responsible, but I'm just saying 200 grand is a lot of money. A lot of money.
See that before. He was a disaster in 2020, a complete and utter disaster as it related to what he did with COVID, regardless of whether you think we were wearing a mask or not.
The question for Nick is, how did you not realize 6 years ago that Trump would be this sort of letdown?
Because he doesn't hold, you know, there's no ideological core to Donald Trump.
No, I agree with you. Well, you got to realize in 2016 where Republicans were at. We had John McCain, we had Mitt Romney, and the perception on the right is that they were insufficiently
Keeping in mind, he's
conservative.
never done that for me. Do you know what, Beans? I will actually... I should probably... That sounds like a fun thing to do. I've never actually... I've never gifted anyone a sub on Twitch ever in my life. And I have never... never done, like, mass subbies, because I don't watch anyone on Twitch. You know that, right? You, I mean, we've spoken about this before. It's just not a thing that I do, right? I just don't consume content this way. But I feel like... Not always, okay? But occasionally, right? On, like, a good day, I do quite like you, actually. So, when I do gift 5 subbies, you will be the first. You will be the first to get that, Beans. That is a solemn KrysSpeaks vow. On God, for real, for real. You will see. You will all see.
And that they were losers. All they do is lose because they don't fight. There was this perception that the Democrats are ruthless, fighters. Obama crushed in 2008, crushed when we thought he really should have lost in 2012. That was a Republican perception that Romney let us down. And so when Trump came on the scene in 2016, it was new, it was refreshing. He seemed like somebody that was really going to take on not just the Democrats, but also the media on our behalf. And what's more, you got to think about the mood of the moment in 16 as well and the message Trump was giving. Trump said in 16, it's just me and my son and my wife. We don't have any donors. We don't have any special interests.
More than $100 million put in of my money, meaning I'm not taking all of this big money from all of these different corporations like she's doing.
We're going to put America first, make the country great again. This is a very appealing message, and I talk all the time on my show about it, and realizing now that it was obviously a scam and now obviously unfulfilled completely, and you're right, Trump is non-ideological. The message was brilliant because it said, one...
Mr. Streamer, can you do this? I don't know what that is. But if I knew what that was, I could maybe do it.
The system is broken. America's not great anymore, but it used to be. We can make it great again, but in order to do it, we need to actually bypass the system. Why is it that we never have victories? Why is it that things don't change? Because of money. He said, and that's why I'm different. I'm rich. I'm a billionaire. If I self-fund my campaign and don't take super PAC money, then I won't have to listen to the lobbyists and the special interests. I could fire the people I need to fire, do the things I need to do. That was like a very powerful message in 2016. And after 4 years, I was one of the people even back then that said, look, it never materialized. He did wind up taking super PAC money. He took AIPAC money for that matter, Sheldon Adelson money at that time in 16. Even in the first term, bombed Iran. In the first term, didn't build the wall. In the first term, didn't even reduce illegal immigration until 2019. And I remember the timeline perfectly because I covered it every day. It was like in May and June 2019, 20-year illegal immigration high in terms of month over month. But why did I go for him in 2020? At the height of the pandemic, we all thought on the right that if anyone other than Trump was president, you were going to get a vaccine mandate, which we really didn't want to be forced to take the vaccine. We thought the lockdown might never end. We thought that censorship would kick into overdrive. And so we said, really, it's unacceptable that anyone other than Trump would just be a disaster. And then obviously Biden came in, and I don't think...
And they threw so much in the shitter. So much in the shitter because they thought they're gonna have to get vaccinated. Embarrassing. It's like genuinely fucking embarrassing, man.
It was as bad as we thought it would be, to tell you the truth, honestly. But by 2024, I mean, I was out. in 2024, because everything you're saying is totally true. And I was telling people on my side, I was saying he's not going to build the wall. And I know you're against that. He's not going to do the mass deportations, promising that. He's not going to start no new wars. I said in 24, he's going to take us to war in Iran. And the Ukraine war, I said, that's not going to end in one day. Too complicated. We're already in it. And so I didn't vote. I didn't vote in 2024. And I told my followers not to vote for Trump for that reason. And it was only until a year later, after all the exuberance died down and people saw the bearing of the Epstein files, the war in Iran, people said, you know what? You were right. You were right about Trump. Even Alex Jones told me you were right about Trump. I was all in on him. So, I mean, as far as him being vaporware is concerned and a scammer and fundamentally, you're 100% right. No ideological core. He's not an ideological guy. Yeah, it is. He's
literally all about him.
And I agree, he's a cruel narcissist.
Yeah.
And you said I like the cruelty. I do not like the cruelty.
No, by the way, no. I didn't say you like the cruelty. I said I'm listening to your thing, and you said one of the things that you liked about Levin was the cruelty. And not for the cruelty's sake, it didn't seem to me like this, is because it was raw.
Dazzling,
it was, yeah. And that's, so I'm not saying that.
No, but I agree. I think he is cruel. And even what he said on Easter, I mean, we're Catholic. On Easter Sunday, he says we're going to annihilate Iran.
I forgot about that. I forgot about him on Easter going fucking praise be to Allah and just fucking signs off on his tweet and goes home. Bro, on fucking Easter, as like the Christian leader of America, bro, he might as well, he should have ended that tweet with Inshallah. Obama handled deportation more effectively than any president yet. I never see conservative give him credit for it. You should watch some Piers Morgan, okay? Because I assure you, Piers Morgan's going to do a, hang on. Do you know what Obama was called? Do you know what they used to call him? Deporter-in-chief. Fucking hang on, deporter-in-chief, innit, mate? Fucking hang on. Fucking wanker. He's such a weird guy as well. Piers Morgan is such a genuine fucking weirdo, bro. I can't tell you how many times I've heard him do the whole, hang on, they called him the deporter-in-chief. Must have been in the hundreds. Fucking easily in the hundreds.
And then he made fun of Allah on Easter Sunday. So, you know, that kind of stuff, it just totally turned me off entirely.
Is there anything that you think Trump can do to, like, regain the support of the, I guess, Gen Z and millennial right?
No, it's over. People see what he's made of. And Hunter's right, he's a liar. He is a liar. He is a bullshit artist. And especially, you look at what he did with the Epstein files, with the war in Iran, what he did to Thomas Massie.
This guy named Thomas Massie. There's something wrong with him. They just vote no. They love voting no. They think it's good politically.
You realize that if you are America first, you have no place in this Republican Party, because he said it. He said our Republican Party, or rather, he said MAGA is Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, Randy Fine. He said, and who is not MAGA? Megyn Kelly, Tucker, Alex Jones, Candace. And I think most Republicans said, well, we're with those other people. We're not MAGA anymore. So
what do you think happens, Nick? I believe that we need radical change. And I'm not talking about violence or revolution or things like that. I'm talking about the only ways that you can have this kind of radical rethinking of the system. Like, there's so many questions. Like, what do you think about the Epstein files? What do you think about the accountability? Or do you think that he's broken the system to the degree that we now are basically in a dictatorship light?
No, I have a lot of confidence only because I think the Democrats are going to take the House in 26, which I support. I'm telling my people, vote Democrat. We want the Democrats in the House, because what they're going to do is they're going to use the oversight powers to bring all the corruption to light. Because I know Republicans will watch this, and when you say, you know, we didn't commit crime, they're going to be skeptical. However, for the sake of argument, let's say the income you made during Biden was ill-gotten. For the sake of example, it's just doesn't hold a candle. It doesn't even come close, doesn't even touch Jared Kushner, Howard Lutnick, Steve Witkoff, Don Jr., Trump himself. It's just a different sport. It's a different game entirely. And I want all that corruption to be revealed. And I think the Democrats are going to do it. I hope they get impeached. I don't think they'll be removed from office, but I think it'll basically drag this administration to a halt. And then in 28, I think there's an opportunity for a clean reset with both sides, right and left.
Hey guys, quick thing before we get back to Hunter and Nick.
How many fucking adverts are you gonna do, you rapist Wangstein? This is the fucking third one. This is only an hour and a half. Calm the fuck down.
Whenever you talk about Trump, sometimes you explain this like nightmare scenario that revolves around a Vance presidency.
Yes.
What about J.D. Vance being in power scares you so much?
If Trump doesn't have an ideological core, then Vance really doesn't, because Vance is a chameleon. That's not his real name, for openers. Never had a real job. These are all sinecures given to him by Peter Thiel. 6 years ago, he's a never Trumper.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
I think that he's leading people in a very dark direction, and that's ultimately what worries me the most.
Terrible candidate. Idiot if you voted for him. Might be America's Hitler.
I was wrong about Donald Trump. I didn't think he was going to be a good president, Brett. He was a great president.
Now he's a national conservative, national populist, and so we don't even really know who he is. I mean, to me, this is basically a Manchurian candidate. This is a shell, and who is the power behind him? It's the oligarchs. It's the little tech oligarchs in bed with the CIA, you know, especially at this fever pitch with AI. I think that's really dangerous. So to me, him being president is just a worse scenario in my mind.
For the uninformed viewer, what is the Palantir J.D. Vance connection?
Well, Palantir was founded by Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel's very close with David Sachs. J.D. Vance was given his first job in Silicon Valley by Thiel. Thiel hooked him up with it. You know, the CEO of that company said it was a personal favor to Thiel that I hired him. And then Thiel got him all his jobs at these various venture capital firms, including his own, and then funding J.D. Vance's venture capital firm. Peter Thiel gave $15 million to Vance when he ran for Senate in Ohio in 2022. Peter Thiel secured President Trump's endorsement for him in 22, which basically got him.
All grifters. J.D. Vance also doesn't have the kind of charisma that Trump does, but I think in a way J.D. Vance would also probably be easier to control than Trump can be at times. Because for Trump, it just, all he seems to care about at times is the reputation that he has. I think Vance would throw America out into the fucking bin if he could make a bag and just run away afterwards. You know what I mean? You saw that we do have contracts with Palantir? Yeah, I saw. It doesn't surprise me at all, man. It's fucking grim. I think it's meant to go on like that. Okay, yeah, fuck it. I'm using blue. Fuck it.
The nomination and the seat. So, I mean, as far as anybody's concerned, Vance owes his entire political career to Peter Thiel, who derives his fortune from Palantir.
And now he's a Catholic like you and me.
Well, he's a convert, so, you know.
Beware the convert.
Yeah.
So do you think that Trump's unfulfillment of his campaign promises was a result of him being like compromised by somebody connected to that structure, or do you think he always just never cared?
I don't know that he never cared. I just think that, you know, I'm an idealist. So I think about the ideas and the concepts. Trump is a businessman. And so I think with him, everything's transactional. And I said this in 2024. Trump knew the voters would swallow anything. The voters would not walk away from the table because they were enamored with him.
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
So he knew he could break every promise with them in order to fulfill promises for the donor class, which is little tech, the Israel lobby, and Wall Street. The bankers, Tim Mellon, the big asset managers. So I think with him, everything's business. Everything's a transaction. And that's why you can't trust him.
Yes, they are, yeah.
You have to do business. And in 24, I said we should all collectively say we're not going to vote unless he makes certain commitments. And not enough people did that. But, I mean, that's fundamentally his flaw.
Your critique of this, like, elite power structure sounds like vaguely anti-capitalist.
It's not anti-capitalist. You know, capitalism says the capital, large amounts of capital will be held in private hands, which I believe in. I am a capitalist. But I think what is happening is that it's the way that money is used in government. There needs to be a distinct and separate national power that subordinates the money power to it. The problem is the billionaires buy all the elections, buy all the media, control public perception, and so really we're all subsidiary then to the market. So I support capitalism, but it just has to be underneath the nation, underneath the state.
It seems like you have a pretty optimistic perspective on the year 2028.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28.
Kind of keep coming back to this like clean election year. Do you think that's going to be like a renaissance year for outsider candidates and outside media channels like this one?
It can be. I think it certainly can be, because I think there's frustration on the right and on the left. You know, you see even in the primaries on the Democrat side, it's all DSA progressive types that are winning. You ironically have the same frustration on the left with their establishment as we have on the right. And so I think, you know, in 2028, it's going to be a year where there'll be a competitive Republican primary and Democratic primary, and hopefully the people make their voice heard and we get some new options, you know, maybe that reflect the will of the people more.
So communism, Leonard, it all ends up with China. All the roads, all the options, all the possibilities lead to China. We will be one with China. China.
What do you think about somebody like Mamdani?
Personally, I don't like him. I don't like some of the things that he said, like, for example, on 4th of July, when he takes the opportunity to sit there with, let's be honest, not a single white person in the room and says, you know, the founding fathers would look down on us, the working people with their dirt-streaked hands against the billionaires. I think it's a little too divisive. I like his energy. I like that he's young. It's ironic. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
That's rich, buddy. But no, look,
but it seems pointed at me.
I know, but yeah, but the thing.
Like he was dissing you in that video.
Yeah, a
like
little bit.
Staring down the camera, like, just for you, Nick, you son of a bitch.
People like me.
Yeah.
But what I see is somebody is using government for exactly the purpose that you just said, is to break the oligopoly, to target the anger towards a tiny percentage of the population that has controlled the levers of government from the White House down to the mayor's office in New York City or Peoria, Illinois, to that matter, and even more so as you go further down that chain. And so I look at somebody like Mamdani, and regardless of his delivery, which may be off-putting, particularly from somebody coming from your side, is that he's delivering, man. You know what? I mean, he's really delivering. You know, like I saw somebody going after Mamdani for some of this stuff, and particularly about rent control, you know. And I was like, well, how do you think the middle class was built after World War II and the GI Bill and rent-controlled buildings that created those communities that we were talking about an hour ago?
The GI Bill provides returning soldiers and veterans a range of benefits, including mortgages to purchase homes, loans to go to school, and this really was instrumental in creating the new American middle class.
Created the availability for somebody that was 26 years old, that had a job with the MTA, to be able to live and work in the city and put the kid in a school with the idea that they would be safe walking there and go to a park that, you know, where the water fountains worked. That's what I see him trying to do. I mean, by the way, it's just so tired and, you know, ridiculous. He's a communist, like it's about the communists. Like, who even says that anymore? Nobody, like, you know what? We're just 1981 and, you know, we're watching Rocky V and worried about the communists. You know what I mean? I just don't, I don't get it. Rocky IV? My whole Philly legitimacy was just blown right there. Yeah. But it's just kind of, and so I look at somebody like Mamdani, I think, well, he's just talking about good government. Like, what do you think about healthcare? Don't you think that there should be a single-payer system? Don't you think that there should be some guarantee as a right? Because I don't know how you make it in this country and aspire to a middle-class life and be able to afford a catastrophic event as it relates to your health. I mean, it's over. You're done.
Yeah. I don't support single payer, but I do believe that everybody should be entitled to some minimum level of coverage, catastrophic insurance. So, in principle, I agree.
Which is Medicare for all to a certain degree.
I think
right? I mean, because that's all
over the years. It's sort of similar to, there was a period of time back when all the roads lead to China. Hold on, I do want to pull that one up. I reckon there's a quality shitpost in there. Hold on. It's a little bit how, like, way back when people would say that, like, people would just say Nazi at anything. Do you know what I always think of, Leonard, when it comes to, like, all roads lead to China and all that shit? Do you remember a while ago there was this weird fucking animation? It must have been from some Chinese cartoon or whatever. It was like a beaver father or like a rat father, some kind of an animal being like really emotional, telling his son about something in Chinese, and it made the rounds fucking everywhere. The Chinese boba, yeah. It was just that shit went fucking everywhere, bro, and that was fire. Just pure fire.
The care does right now. Well, why is that radical?
See, I don't think that's necessarily radical, but
to them, it's because we've been convinced that it's a radical
them,
idea.
Those others.
Yeah, no, them. I mean the insurance companies.
Sure.
And their lobbyists who control 55% of Congress, regardless of who's in power.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think
this one. Hold on, why is my Twitch chat not loading? One sec. That background song is fire as well. It's just such a good, like, say what you will, that song is raw, bro. That song paired with those emotions, oh, bro. It's just pure fire. It's actually a parody of some 80s Chinese movie scene shit. I didn't even know. I love it. I love it.
That's necessarily the most radical. I think, though, he is with the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. He backs all these DSA candidates. And let's be honest, a lot of them are radical. Like, I saw one of these candidates that just won in New York a couple weeks ago, this Chevalier candidate. There's a picture.
He says a lot of them are radical. She is, the Chevaliers or whatever her name is, she's a fucking lunatic. But I feel like if he's gonna say that a lot of them are radical, I would want some more. I would want some more specific examples, because I know that she is, but that's the only one that I know of the three that he endorsed that is an actual fucking lunatic. But she is a lunatic. That lady's fucking strange. It's fire. You know, no. Her surname's something like Chevaliers or something like that.
My dad.
Yeah, I know.
She said about my dad.
She had awful things about him.
Yeah,
and she says, oh, I didn't have a napkin to wipe my hands, so I used the American flag.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, I think it's crazy. But like the same way that, you know, I thought a lot of the stuff that some people that got elected in 2016, 2020, even during the Tea Party, you know, kind of movement was, you know, egregious. Again, egregious.
If it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down.
So what do we do? What do we do, Nick?
I think a better question is...
For real, what do we do? Can you at least come a little bit to this way?
If you can come a little this way.
I can. Here's where I can come, is this. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes. Too many
about
times.
the Holocaust?
Too many times you've said that
about
word,
that.
About
no, I mean, really.
You need to stop.
I do. And listen, here's what I'll say. Now that I'm older, I do think that's not the best approach. So I agree with you on that. And I see it as I get older, you know, because let's be honest, saying those things when I'm a younger guy, when I'm, you know, 18, 20, it's like, you got to think that's just the age.
Jews are running society. Women need to shut the up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part.
And a lot of young people think that's funny and everything like that. I think that it also goes with the medium as well. Live streaming, social media, that's just what it rewards. So yeah, I think that people should try to move past some of that.
I'll try. But if you try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
For real. And as it relates to when you talk about Israel, Netanyahu, Likud government, what's happening now, what's happened for the past 20 years in terms of whether the funding to Israel, whether you think it is. It's really important that you make a distinction between that and Jews. Because here's the thing, okay? Zoran Mamdani has a higher favorability rating in the United States among Jews than Bibi Netanyahu does. I think 65% of American Jews disagree with the approach that the Israeli government has right now. They don't disagree with you, but they completely turn off when they hear the conflation of...
Do you know what my problem is with this? With what Biden's trying to do here? I don't know if this is like an optics L or if this is just a broader issue. I would actually be curious, Leonard, about what you think here as well, if you're still there. My problem is that they're trying to go for like a let's meet in the middle. You tell me this thing that like particularly upsets you and I'll tell this thing that particularly upsets me and let's meet somewhere in the middle. When Biden's thing that upsets him so much about Nick Fuentes' behavior is the shit that Nick Fuentes says about Jews, it plays exactly into the kind of rhetoric that Nick Fuentes uses to get more power. Because he's now going to be able to go back to his own little fucking corner of the internet and he's going to be able to say like, hey, I had a conversation with the son of the president of the United States of America, and at the end of the day, when he asked me about to like go easier on one thing, to chill about one thing, he asked me to be more chill about the Jews. If you needed any more evidence that the Jews control the world. And it's just like, it's just, I don't know, like what? The naivety, I think, upsets me a little bit here from Biden. Just the idea that you're going to be able to meet somewhere in the middle with somebody whose entire platform is based around outrage. It's just naive.
Jews, Zionism, Israel, and think automatically anti-Semitism, whether it's fair or not, okay? But you have to understand it. And you have to understand it from a cultural perspective in which the recent history is only one data point in 2,000 years of history as it relates to what it means to be a Jew, of which there is what, 1%, 0.5% of the entire world's population? Because I don't know what it has to your argument.
Is, but the problem is that if that's the one thing he focuses on in the session, then that plays exactly into Nick Fuentes' rhetoric. Because he's going to say that the one thing that Biden wanted him to focus on is the Jews, not the economy, not like even his hatred of Donald Trump, who brought up his father's name fucking 6 times a day for the first year and a bit of the presidency. It's going to be the Jews. And they're just going to use that to run with it.
Miriam Adelson being able to give $300 million to Donald Trump and commit to giving another $300 million to get her way, and we end up in a war with Iran.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a valid point. I do think, though, that the issue's broader than just Netanyahu.
Oh, maybe, by the way, obviously, Netanyahu has a base within Israel, within the Jewish community here in the United States, with Jared Kushner. You know what I mean? Jared Kushner, who's unelected, not a member.
To be fair, Chris, this is the exact pitfall that people like Wick fall into, thinking that these people are worthy of consideration, / giving them enough credence to want them to take the middle ground. But that's the thing, though, Beans. You would be forgiven for something like this because you're not, and you never wear a DGGer. Wick is and has been, like, Wick is fucking balls deep in Destiny. It's fucking indescribable. And Destiny has had debates with Nick Fuentes where Nick Fuentes got absolutely fucking dog walked. And then he went back into his little fucking hole in the ground and then just refined his arguments a little bit and didn't change his mind at all, and then came back for round 2 and then round 3 and round 4, and he's just going to keep coming back over and over and over again until he's eventually found a lie that you don't have the time or the ability to disprove, and then after getting that one dub, that's the last time you'll ever fucking see him. No, Destiny is balls deep in Wick. Wick is not the top hit. True. Big True was just spoken.
Of our government is having as more control over the direction of the everyday lives of American people right now than anybody that I know of. And meanwhile, all he's doing is building a $6 billion private equity fund with the people he is negotiating for. And I always say, look who's paying him, and wondering whose interest that he is advancing. He's getting paid by the Saudis, and get paid by the Emiratis, and paid by the Qataris. He's getting paid. Go down the list. And for some reason, he is in control, along with Steve Witkoff, who is also not elected by anybody, of deciding whether or not the Straits of Hormuz are going to open up, and whether or not our gas prices are going to go down. It may not matter to the three of us necessarily, you know, an extra dollar, 60 cents or 85 cents. But you know what? To 85% of the people that live in America, it means it's the difference between whether or not they're going to be able to pay rent, you know, whether or not you're going to be able to actually put the gas in your car in Montana to drive to your job on the, you know, on the ranch.
Well, and here's what I'll say to you, and this is something kind of why I want to do this interview, is emphasize the message that as far as Jews are concerned in general, I think that it's the same standard that applies to everybody, which is as long as you're patriotic, as long as you believe Americans should be put first by their government, I have no problem at all. And I think that everybody in the country should be treated with dignity and respect and have their civil rights. It's just this acute problem of these people, like you mentioned, like Larry Ellison and Miriam Adelson and Jared Kushner, they're putting some other country before the interest of our own. And that, in principle, is what I have a problem with.
There is going to be some people who watch this and feel like, all right, no take-backsies. And they might feel like you're just kind of trying to moderate, and that now that you've achieved your goal and got a lot of support, you're kind of moderating because your main aim has already been achieved, which is to sort of have a generational run and pop off. So now you're trying to kind of make your way more into the mainstream discourse, but that you'll just go back again into the same sort of reactionary rhetoric once you're back in a #1 spot.
Well, I don't even think I'm moderating. And I even told our mutual friend, it's not even a moderation, it's not even an apology, right? It's clarifying. Because, you know, all along I've been saying this message, it's just that the way that I'm saying it changes and evolves. And I also think how people respond to it changes as well. Because let's be honest, 10 years ago, there was a very different kind of conversation about Israel. You could not mention it in a negative or critical way without being utterly annihilated in politics. We all know that ever since October 7th, that's not the case anymore. So I think that there's sort of something reciprocal happening, which is that people are receiving me differently. And as someone that's growing older and more mature, I'm even representing myself differently. So I wouldn't even call it moderating, just clarifying. People are more receptive, and I'm maybe better able to articulate it.
And you think that's because you've kind of gotten older and been able to have like a longer career in media to reflect on your different changes in your perhaps brain chemistry and lifestyle?
That's a huge thing. I mean, I know it's 27. I have a very different mentality than I did when I was 20.
I'm fucking tired.
I've only built just more even keeled. I think you know too.
Tired.
It's like when
it's fucking. I don't know if you, Leonard, do you have a Cities of Sigmar army? Takes a hot fucking minute to build them. I'm used to Stormcast, where it's like 6 different pieces and then, you know, the fucking shoulder guards and your Gucci. And with these motherfuckers, it is so much fucking more than that, you know? Like, Jesus Christ. Nah, fuck Order. Are any of the... is this just an Age of Sigmar thing, or is it just maybe because Stormcast are particularly simple because they're the beginner army? Like, what are Soulblight Gravelords or fucking... shit, what are the ghouls called? The New Britannia. Do they have like 7 million pieces? Because I know that Iden of Deep can have the same issue too. Jesus fucking Christ, man. It's like mentally exhausting. I love the end product though, don't get me wrong, very fun hobby, but holy shit.
You're 20, you're just like a maniac. And then you hit 25 and you're like, all right, you know.
I was a maniac when I was 49. My brain chemistry has definitely changed in the last 7 years too. You know, and I do believe that people can grow and they can change. And I'm not asking you to, and I'm not asking you to say things, but there are certain things that I just hope that you can hear without feeling attacked. That some of the things that you said, whether...
But I feel you. Dude, I found there is a Polish website where they sell They sell used minis. There's a few websites like this, but I found one recently, and the prices on this bad boy are real fucking nice.
Edgelording otherwise are really hurtful, and then people completely turn off to the
one day,
idea of being
just
able to
one day,
listen to you
I'll
about anything,
definitely
and then you
invest in
get
a
dug
3D
in more, and
printer.
you're like, go fuck yourself, like, you know, you can't take a joke kind of thing.
FDM,
and
though,
that's not what
resin.
it is. It's not just wokeism. It's not. It's people being really, really hurt by it. And I accept your apology for all of the mean things you said about me.
You have to tell your fiance that a 3D printer is the future. She's already down for it. Because we've already looked at like some of our household items that we could 3D print as well. And my wife was she's quite cool with the idea. We have a twofold problem. First one is that we would need to make dedicated area for the 3D printer. And second problem is that it needs to be an enclosed one because we have very curious cats. And the enclosed 3D printers are a bit pricier than I'm willing to spend right now. I actually feel that quite a lot, Leonard. I've been enjoying the painting sessions because my wife joins me for them as well, and me and her we just paint. Like she paints her Skaven usually, I'll paint Stormcast or whatever. So I've been having fun with that. But I definitely enjoy the gameplay more than I do the assembly and the painting part of it. I enjoy the painting quite a lot. Assembling it, I'm very 50-50 on that one.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, I'm on my apology tour. Is that the one thing you did say? You said I was a degenerate crackhead.
Me?
And I have the problem with that. Not you.
Me?
Yeah. And
I also said you were cool, though.
Yeah. No. By the way, you said a degenerate crackhead, and you know what? I'm not even mad about that because I was a degenerate crackhead. I spent more time on my hands and knees smoking anything that even remotely resembled crack cocaine. It's true.
And now you're sober. Yeah. And I find it interesting. You also said that you've never drank before.
Right. Yeah, I've never had a drink, never done drugs.
That's because you grew up, you know, with me. You're like, don't be that guy.
I grew up with you too, and I was doing.
Yeah. You're not as smart as he is. My brother never drank. My dad too. And
I was gonna ask you, Nick, what kind of prompted your choice to just like be sober for life and never drink?
Well, you know, a big part of it is I had a lot of addiction in my family. You know, my grandfather was an alcoholic, committed suicide. Uncle died from an overdose from crack cocaine. My mom, two of her uncles, heroin addicts for their entire lives. And it just
I feel that actually. I've got a sort of similar reason for not drinking. I've got a lot of alcoholism in my family. And I would rather... I'd rather not partake, you know?
Devastated my family, devastated both of my parents. And so I know I have that addictive personality and probably have the genetics for it. And not only that, but I like being rational. I like having my sober mind. I think that's actually a sacred thing. To have unimpaired reason. So the thought of losing control and even being tempted to get into, you know, worse things, I just thought it's just not worth the risk. So it's just never for me.
well, how much? By the way, sorry, do we have time? Yeah. Is it? How much do you think COVID warped not just your generation, but everybody? Because I have this theory that there was this thing that broke for us with COVID. And that nobody's really come to terms with how traumatic that was for everyone.
And especially for the younger generations. Yeah. I think severely less for the older generations, but for the younger people, missing the graduations, missing critical years in school. That's when the socialization happens. That's when you learn to get along. And so you think about how this generation's going to grow up having 2 to 3 lost years.
It absolutely did.
You know, no sports, no school, no extracurriculars, vacation.
I got away with like consequences of COVID relatively, like I got away relatively unscathed. And even my like university experience was quite badly fucked. And I am, I'm not happy about that, right? Like I've done like almost 2/3 of my university remotely. They cancelled a lot of the exams that I had and they changed them into like written assignments. And like, it's not the end of the world, but at the same time, like, shit, bro, I've, like, I missed out on a lot, you know?
It's devastating. And we already had a problem with that isolation, social dislocation, loneliness. I can't even imagine. So it's going to be devastating, I think. But that's a lockdown.
So maybe if you're watching this video after this, you know, put your phone or computer away, go outside, make a friend, just do anything but scroll to the next video. Back in the day during Nickelodeon, they had Go Outside Day.
Oh yeah.
You know, I feel like we need like one day a week where it's mandated in a tech oligarch sense that no one can go on their phone or use the computer.
Man, I would love that. I mean, that's one thing. Is if we could, the one thing we could all agree on. The way I say it now is you're all carrying around a bag of heroin in your pocket. Everybody is, and it's probably even more dangerous in some ways.
Would either of you guys ever run for office?
Are you asking me for real?
Yeah.
No. I think that politics, the way that my dad engaged in it, and that I'm obviously incredibly biased, is an incredibly noble thing. But that's not where my head is in terms of what I want to do. I want to reach. My whole thing is that forget all of this. I want to reach 1 million people in addiction. I think one of the biggest things about addiction, and one of the reasons why it continues to be this, epidemic, is that we don't talk about it.
And now it's anti-recycling as well, and anti the weird shit happening with the bottles here. It's the convenience of it, right? The convenience and the perceived rights, like the idea that you're being treaded on.
You don't even talk about it around your dinner table. And what you realize, if you're coming from my particular unique situation, is...
Do you think they will add Kislev to AOS, Leonard? I'm surprised they haven't added fucking... what are the Chinese called? Grand Cathay. I'm surprised Grand Cathay is not in AOS yet. I would have thought that they would want to get that Chinese market ASAP. And it just doesn't seem to be the case.
Is that everybody comes to me and they tell me their story. And sharing that is like, breaks that cycle of shame. And so I want to reach 1 million people in addiction.
How about you, Nick? Would you ever run for office?
I don't think so, no. Just because I don't think you can fully be authentic when you're running for office because it's a different role. And I think my role, they say, according to the Overton window idea.
Ideas that are inside the Overton window are ideas that are politically safe. The public is ready to accept them.
They say that if you want to change people's opinions and what they consider acceptable, you kind of have to be the first to the punch and maybe considered a bad person or evil or whatever in order to promote your view. And so that just doesn't lend itself to that kind of politics. So I think to protect my own integrity and authenticity of the message, I have to not run for office.
See what we just did? We just made probably the entire audience happy. One half is glad I'm not running. The other half is really glad he's not running.
Well, if not you guys, then, is there any candidate or prospective candidate that you feel like could run in 2028 that would, have a fair shot that y'all support?
Nobody in particular for me. Honestly, I haven't really been too impressed with who's come out of the Republican Party. So I'm hoping they'll just be somebody we haven't heard of, somebody maybe that hasn't been in office before.
He's voting for Gavin Newsom in 20.
That's right, yeah. Well, if it's Newsom and Vance, I'd certainly think about it.
Yeah.
How about you? Anybody that, creates a twinkle in your eye?
No, I think that there are a lot of people. I mean, I know that you think that you're going to laugh at me, but I personally like Gavin Newsom a lot. I think that he's authentic in those beliefs, whether you agree with them or not. Thomas Massey's principled stand as it relates to the Epstein files was incredibly courageous.
Do not let the Senate muck this bill up. I am sorry if one of your billionaire donors is going to get embarrassed because he went to Rape Island.
And that's why he's not going to be a congressman anymore. But that's why, he could potentially make a really strong national candidate.
And you guys think America will exist in a post-Epstein capture freeway?
Will America exist?
Yeah, will America survive the current power structure's stranglehold on the media, the political system, and all public affairs?
I don't know. I think AI is going to really be transformative. It's interesting. Nobody seems to be talking about that.
Transformative in what sense? Like for bad?
Concentration of power. That's the single biggest. And you know what? I'm actually on the liberal side on this with Anthropic. over the, let's say, because there's this battle between these effective altruists, effective accelerationists, and I really am nervous about what's going to happen, especially in the next 4 years, because they're racing towards this artificial general intelligence, artificial super intelligence.
It was, BB, yeah, and it was, a lot of it was mishandled, but people were also insanely unreasonable with it too. Like, I remember, bro, it's such a fucking embarrassing thing to even talk about, because it's just like, it's those were the genes that made me. Bro, at my mum's workplace, they would make you wear a mask, and people wouldn't want to wear a mask. So you could get one of those, like, cosmetic face masks where it had holes all over it that you can breathe through and see people's mouths and faces, and those got approved, like officially approved by the higher ups. So people started wearing them, but those aren't face masks anymore. So just let people not wear face masks at that point, or don't let them wear those. You know what I mean? Like, fuck me sideways, bro. Just fucking idiotic shit.
And that, without a doubt, is going to be the single biggest influence on the country. And so I'm really worried about that.
And what about that concerns you? Is it surveillance?
It's the concentration of power in the hands of whoever controls it. Whichever firm is the one to develop ASI, that could confer dictatorial-like powers upon the CEO of that company. So whether that's Sam Altman or it's Dario, if the artificial intelligence is aligned with its creator, that person will become the most powerful person in the history of mankind on that day.
It's almost an inherent truth, in my opinion, what he just said, is that the greatest leap in human evolution is going to happen within our lifetimes. AGI, let alone superintelligence, is everything that we think about the way in which we exist in the world completely changes. And I don't think that that's in any way hyperbole. And if you listen to the people that are developing these technologies right now, they are the most alarmist.
I think AI will probably, most likely, sort of lead to the end of the world.
If you want to know what life's like when you're not the apex intelligence, ask a chicken.
And now, by the way, I think that there's an enormous possibility for incredibly beneficial things to society, like being able to cure cancer. I just think of this one thing. Everything that AI is built on is ours. Belongs to you, and you, and you, all the way back through the human civilization. That's what they're stealing from us, and they're putting it into the hands of literally a handful of people. All of that human knowledge and the value that comes from it. And I think that that's ours. So any AI that is developed, particularly that goes to HEE, should be communal. It should be shared in the not just the beneficial offshoots of it, but the actual money of it should be shared.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it's like nuclear bombs, but it's also a commodity at the same time. The weapons potential, the economic potential, I think that's going to be the biggest thing. And I hope on some level that liberals win that argument, because, what Trump is doing with the Pentagon, Anthropic, and OpenAI, the way they're handling it is so reckless and sloppy and just honestly unbelievable. So we need some adults in the room on that one.
Well, it's been a great conversation. I appreciate you guys for coming. You guys have any final questions you want to ask to each other, or maybe a message you want to give to the American people?
I still believe in America, and I truly believe in these conversations. And I think everyone that's watching would think that I would not want to sit down with Nick. And this, I guess, what I'm getting at with you is that I hope you see the humanity of me, and so when the way that you talk in the future takes that into consideration. And what I'll do is I'll see the humanity in you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a great conversation, and I think that we have to come together on the things that we agree on, which is, for example, that we love the country, we both believe in America, we both want the country to succeed, and I like what you said, that we see the fundamental humanity in each other. And I think that especially in the events of the last year, the killing of Charlie Kirk, you realize that's actually not something that people on both sides share. I think there's people on the right and the left that don't see the humanity.
Before this interview happened, I've read some tweets or something from Hunter Biden saying that he almost hit or fought Nick Fuentes. I was expecting something more contentious here.
in the other side. And so maybe that's the new consensus, or that's where we can come together, is on the basis that, you know, we disagree on fundamental issues, and even sometimes it gets heated and we yell at each other, but that we do ultimately want the best for each other. We love each other. We want the country to succeed. And I think that's a starting point for any solution and any conversation.
All right,
I don't think
American
we're going to
brothers.
be that lucky, bro.
Thank you guys so much for your
Absolutely.
time. I really appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. Good job, guys.
After interviewing Hunter and Nick about a variety of contentious topics, not limited to but including the Iran war and ongoing conflict in the Middle East, I thought to myself, you know what, maybe I should just go. Maybe I should apply for a visa from the IRGC and fly to Tehran to go to a Death to America rally, after which I'll scour the scene to find the underground culture of the city and figure out how unveiled Tehran street folks actually feel about the government, and eat some great food and see some sights while I'm at it. So I did just that with the help of the OG Vice News crew. If you guys want to see our extensive coverage captured in Iran, go to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/channel5. If I had it my way, everything would be free. But hiring fixers, renting equipment, traveling across the world and fighting lawsuits against powerful people is very, very expensive and time-consuming. So we need your support.
Fuck off. You have lied. You have lied about that lawsuit. I do not like you, Mr. Rapist Man. UPA, hey! But yes, we unfortunately did not get to Nick Shirley's long-lost brother. And I'm telling you, I've watched the first 6-7 minutes of this. This is a good body cam video. We are watching this tomorrow, okay? I'm gonna have to do a shorter stream tomorrow because I've got an errand to run. So I'm thinking I'll go live a little bit sooner, and we're watching Nick Shirley's long-lost brother. On God, for real, for real. Oh. In the meantime, gang, that will be it for today. I have work in the morning, so I have to go Nini. I shall raid us 6-7. Please no, Amanak. Please no. I shall raid us into Reservoir, because we're all in a pretty political mood, so I'm thinking Reservoir is going to be the safest place for me to drop you off, and I will be back with you tomorrow. In the meantime, sleep tight, drink plenty of water, don't do anything that I wouldn't do, and stay safe. Because I need you back here tomorrow. Good night, bye-bye, and talk to you soon.